kick this thing into the future. Stop the waste, bring it lean. Make the government a mean machine. No more fluff, just straight facts. Gonna get this country back on track.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Welcome to my party, we're just getting started. A life is a dream or a nightmare scarring. Hand me a drink cause I think I'm going all in. Get me a shrink who can catch me when I'm falling. Cover up my scars, flip the handlebars. Crashing in my car, wake up in a bar. I'll be a superstar, just on my avatar. This world is so bizarre, empty out the reservoir. Yeah, I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy, don't think I'll get home safe. So I'm taking 6 shots, all straight to the face. I'm taking 6 shots, are you coming with me? I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy, don't think I'll get home safe. So I'm taking 6 shots, all straight to the face. I'm taking 6 shots, are you coming with me? Sometimes you need to let loose, grab juice, get goose, tattoos, taboos, get screwed. Loosen up, buttercup, all those hate comments will never make you feel enough. We're all adequate graduates, heart full of calluses, but we know calculus. Damn, ain't that fabulous? Can't wait to apply all those mathematicus. But we can't get a job that pays us enough. I'm about to pop off. Fuck you, you're lost. We all know that we never really want a boss. So I'ma do what I want to, something I can't undo. Yeah, I'ma do what I want to, something I can't undo. I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy, don't think I'll get home safe. So I'm taking 6 shots, all straight to the face. I'm taking 6 shots, are you coming with me? I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy, don't think I'll get home safe. So I'm taking 6 shots, all straight to the face. I'm taking 6 shots, are you coming with me?
Hey, welcome. Friday night. It's all in with me and Ed.
Hello.
Fuzzy head. Fuzzy head. Ed's got a fuzzy head.
I've got a fuzzy head. Oh,
Yeah. We don't know why people
I
don't.
could try turning the television off or something. I don't know.
No, don't worry about it. Just look, you don't want to see him anyway. You just want to hear him. That's the main
You
thing.
need to look at me.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And remember, this is a man that used to be an avatar.
Exactly. You're lucky I'm not still an avatar. There are days that I regret freaking showing my face to the world. The avatar was so much less complicated. I could sit here and spin around on my chair like a bloody idiot and just talk nonsense. Well, seriously.
You pretty much do that anyway, mate.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So yeah, we both had a pretty crappy week. It's had stuff, and I've had stuff.
I had a funeral.
Yeah.
And then a massive drinking session afterwards to put the dead to rest properly. One has to do these things.
You do. So good evening to the chat room. Julie, Johnny, John, Harold, Shalini, Ray, Robin, Rabbit, was it Rabbit Leader 2030? That's a cool name. Paul Armstrong. Who else we got? Robin. Who's missing? Who have I missed? I think that's us. Is it? Britmate. Hello, Britmate. Right, okay. Anyway, enough of this. We've got a packed show to do tonight. So, did you hear about this, Ed? Did you hear about this little bump?
Oh, yes.
The Harry S. Truman, right?
I just, how do you crash into a fucking aircraft carrier? Seriously.
Sorry, sorry, Nectaridus. How could I forget you, mate? How could I forget you? Right, sorry, Ed. Right, carry on.
No, I don't understand how it's even possible to crash. I mean, the thing about the aircraft carriers, when you see them in films and videos, you don't get an accurate idea of just how freaking enormous these things are. I remember seeing one that was docked in Malaga in Spain once when we were on holiday with my parents, and it's just the most unbelievably enormous thing I've ever seen. Now, how it's like the ship that crashed into it wasn't particularly small either.
Yeah. Now, before we go any further, hold on. Before we go any further, yes, beats and tapes. Sorry, mate. Didn't mean to miss you. Right. This is a dramatisation of what occurred, because the Navy are being slightly reticent about actually telling us much, other than nobody was injured and the ship isn't really that badly damaged. So it did hit a bulk carrier, or a bulk carrier hit it, or the bulk carrier and the aircraft carrier hit each other. Now, what I don't understand though, Ed, is these things are like super protected, right? This is a carrier battle group. Yeah. But it only seemed to have one destroyer with it.
Well, I mean,
so
the US military is overstretched. I'm not sure what the carrier was doing. I mean, it could be headed back for port. It
was supposed to be going. It was going to be going south through Suez into the Gulf.
Right. I mean,
because the bulk carrier came out. The bulk cargo ship came out of Suez heading north. It's heading up to Romania or somewhere like that.
It's the thing is that ships have got all sorts of electronic and visual. I mean, apart from anything else, you've got the crew scanning the horizon the whole time on both ships. Both ships have got transport, the equivalent of aircraft transponders. I mean, I can go on marine traffic and I can see where every ship in the world is.
Yeah. Well, you can't see where the Harry S. Truman is, because they didn't have their AIS on, and they should have, because they do say that they would use it when they're in a shipping lane.
Radars, they've got
yes, both, but they didn't have AIS on, right? So you can't. So the other ships wouldn't have been able to track where the Harry S. was, apart from just their radars.
Yeah,
but the Harry S. is
out of the window.
Well, yeah, but the Harry S. has got the most advanced radars probably on the planet. You know.
Okay, it takes an aircraft carrier a long time to turn.
They don't take that, not an aircraft carrier, because they're like, they take a long time to turn compared to a smaller, like a destroyer. But even so, they're a lot more maneuverable than a bulk carrier would be. And I'm pretty sure they could get out of the way.
Well, someone needs to get sacked for this one. Or multiple people. Let's move on.
Yeah, the difference between the Washington crash and this, what do you mean the Washington crash, John? Does he mean the Baltimore one, where the cargo ship took out the bridge? Because that was a mechanical failure. Right, anyway, let's move on, as you said, because we do have a lot to get through. Right, okay. This chap has just been laying into someone who has provoked people, offended people or whatever by burning a book, right? And this guy decided to take extreme offence to him and stabbed him, as well as laying into him. And
I saw the video. Did he? actually stab
Well,
him. I saw lots of knife waving, and he punched him. But
yeah,
he
there's a
actually
lot
had the
of
knife. He was holding the knife in the way you see where the blade was pointed away.
yeah,
from
but
him.
that's how you told it if you wanted to really inflict damage on someone.
Well, I didn't see any blood in the video. But then the
Yeah,
point
right,
is that
okay, let's not focus.
afterwards,
Let's
this
not
Deliveroo guy
focus.
comes in and just gets a kick in.
Yeah, let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the point. Have you seen the age of this guy? What's he doing walking about with, an offensive weapon?
I got the impression that he might have been a resident or a homeowner in one of the buildings.
Possibly, but I think the whole thing is. I think everybody's nuts. They really are.
People are losing the plot. I mean, it's to start with. Okay, someone's burning a Quran on the street, and you happen to be a Muslim, and you happen to object to it. Running out with a knife is really an unproductive way of handling the situation, because you're much more likely to get yourself arrested than anything else. But it's just testament to just how it was the same as that Deliveroo driver getting a kick in afterwards. I mean,
I know. What's it got to do with him?
Yeah, I mean, there is something fundamentally wrong. I don't know if it's just Britain. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy shit happening all over Europe.
Oh, we've got one from Germany.
But
in fact,
like
I should probably drag that on. Carry on, keep talking.
Well, no, it's an absolute tinderbox at the moment. It's how it feels. It's not gonna. You could see one sufficiently large and outrageous attack that could spark an entire country off at the moment, be it the UK or Germany or whatever.
Yeah.
And the levels of hysteria and the levels of othering and just the general, it's like the whole situation with Ukraine and Russia. You can't talk to someone that you disagree with. You have to cancel them and go to war with them and do all sorts of horrible things to them. But God forbid you actually sit down and have a conversation with them. Mm-hmm. But it's also the lack of tolerance. I mean, if you're in a Muslim country, then they have their own rules. And burning a Quran somewhere like Egypt is the dumbest thing you could possibly do.
Yeah.
But we live in Britain and we have freedom of speech and we have freedom of religion. And we have the freedom to burn a book if we so choose. I mean, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with burning any books. I don't care whether it's the Quran, the Bible, or a copy of 1984 by George Orwell. I mean, burning books for me it's not something that should be done unless those books are damaging society in the way that certain pieces of literature are in this day and age. Right.
So similar, well, not a similar thing, but
horrific.
Actually, this event that occurred in Munich, which is where they're having this security conference, which is ironic, isn't it? This event occurred in Munich. They drove into this Afghan migrant, drove into a car into a crowd in Munich. It was some kind of trade union protest or something. Apparently killed a woman and injured another. I think it might be like 30 people now. Quite a few people needed immediate surgery for life-threatening injuries. So pretty bad, right? The guy's in custody. We'll see what happens. But it's like that somebody wrote a really, really well thought out and to me seemed a very reasoned explanation as to why this occurred. And they were an ex-Muslim, right? And basically they were saying that Islam is such a religion that it doesn't allow you any kind of redemption if you're not doing things right. There's no way back, like if you're a Catholic and you go to confession, you get your sins absolved and that's you're okay to go about your business. What? Well, yeah, you can, but you effectively you shouldn't have continuing guilt. But their point was that in Islam, it's very, very difficult to not have guilt, especially when you're living in a non-Islamic society. And their reasoning was that it can lead to things like this because when they do something like this, they are fulfilling the criteria that's written in their book, which then they seem
Well,
to think.
hang on, let me stop you there. They're fulfilling a particular interpretation of what's written in the book.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, whatever you want.
Well, it's because you can't tar everybody with the same brush. That's
No,
the kind
right.
of thinking
Nobody's.
that gets us into
No,
this
hold on.
thing in the
Nobody's
first place.
Nobody's tarring anyone with any brush, right? What we're saying is the book says specific things, right? And it leaves very little room for interpretation when it says these specific things, especially the hadiths, right? And what I'm saying is this guy explained it as such that if you follow the hadiths in the book to the letter, right, then it can make you feel as if you are fulfilling your purpose with regard to the religion, right? That's not tarring everyone with the same brush.
No, fair enough.
Okay.
But it's also just as easy for a Christian extremist, say Jim Jones, to interpret the Bible in a specific way and end up leading to a mass suicide event. And this is not, I think it's important to say that it's not just about Islam and Muslims. This is I think it's more a general malaise in society, but let's move on.
Yeah, okay.
It's not a good idea to get too hung up on any one particular slide this evening.
Yeah, okay. Right. So Zelensky said that Russia attacked Chernobyl last night.
And if you believe that, you're probably in the bottom 10% of intelligent people on the planet. It's just this always happens before, particularly before Munich security conferences, but generally speaking, before there's any Western leader meeting discussing Ukraine, you'll get some silly nonsense like this. And it just the absurdity of thinking that this was the Russians attacking Chernobyl when actually prevailing winds in that area move east more than they do west to start with. Plus it's under Russian control. Plus they've spent decades trying to stop the bloody radiation getting out. And then to think that they're going to just fly a drone into it. I mean, it's absurd. This is just the mad rantings of a cocaine-addled lunatic in Kiev.
Did you see his recent piece to television?
Yeah, he looked off his tits.
He wasn't there, was he?
Olga Basova was saying that she'd worked with substance abusers in the past, and that she reckons that he's not just got a cocaine problem, he's got an issue with amphetamines as well.
It's got an issue with something.
Surprised me. He's probably been taking speed for the last 6 months to stay awake. I mean, it explains the kind of batshit crazy, irrational nonsense that he's doing.
So you're right. I mean, I was listening to a Norwegian professor, right, from a Norwegian university, explaining how the Ukraine war is finished. It's just a question of
which one was that? Glenn Deason.
Yeah, I think it was. And he was explaining how everything's finished, and that in his view, what will happen is that Zelensky will be dealt with by the Ukrainian people, even if he has to be brought back to the country in a cage.
Well, to start with, they're going to want an accounting for all of the money. The Americans are going to want an accounting for all of the money. There are large numbers of Ukrainians living it up in places like Monaco, sons of ministers and all this kind of thing, driving around in super expensive Bugattis, and there's weapons from, what is it, the Mexican president, Scheinbeimer or Scheinberger or whatever her name is. She was basically saying, how the hell have weapons that were specifically made for and to be used by the US military ending up in the hands of cartels? And I think we all know the answer to that one.
We all know how. Do you remember the plane that crashed fairly quickly into the war? Or actually, it might even have just been the start of the SMO. But there was a plane crashed in Syria, that turned out to be full of firearms, American firearms.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
That was en route from Ukraine to. I think it was from Ukraine to Yemen.
yeah. I mean, the whole thing. This is what happens when you pour billions of dollars into the most corrupt country, certainly in Europe, if not the world. I mean, even before the war. I mean, before the Western media went all crawled up Zelensky's bum at the same time. There were articles 10 years ago in places like The Guardian talking about Ukrainian corruption and how the whole country is basically a big cesspit.
Well, what gets me is it's not just the media that was reporting this. There's UN reports going into it in depth. There's American reports going into it in depth and calling them out for their appalling record on human rights, their appalling treatment of women, child trafficking issues, child slavery issues.
I've also seen articles that describe Joe Biden as the most corrupt US not just president, but US politician that has ever existed.
And the other one is the EU itself created reports telling Ukraine what they were doing wrong and calling out the corruption and telling them they had to do better. So how can a country go from, I mean, and I think the EU report was 2019. Right, I was calling them out in 2019, saying they had to do better, they had to improve their child slavery and all this, because something like it was something wild, like 50% of the kids under 13 were actually working rather than going to school, and it suddenly goes from a country that has been called out for its corruption and its appalling record on rights to like a paragon of virtue.
Well, yeah, and it's all made up nonsense.
Yeah. Do you like the way they found a Russian passport amongst the ruins of the Chernobyl reactor?
Well, this is the thing about passports. I mean, I don't understand why they didn't build the what is it called, that big concrete casing that they put. They should have built the thing.
Oh, the sarcophagus.
Yeah, the sarcophagus. They should have built it out of old passports.
Yeah, right. Moving on. So, according to Sweden, right, who in fact, if my memory serves me correct, has only recently joined NATO, right? So, according to Sweden, Ukraine's future NATO membership is not off the table. Well, I'll tell you what I think.
Did he say it while he was stamping his foot and shaking his fist like Rumpelstiltskin?
I don't know, but
honestly, it's a joke. I mean,
I think NATO is NATO's on its last legs, in my view.
The more European leaders spout nonsense like this, the more Trump and Vance and Hegseth and all these other people in America are going to say, mate, leave it. We're not even really that interested in you assholes anyway. Just, you guys deal with it. This is what I think is going to happen with the whole Ukraine thing, that Putin and Trump are going to come to a deal. The Europeans are going to go, no, we don't want that. The Ukrainians are going to go, no, we don't want that. And Trump will just go, okay, fine, deal with it. We're just taking our troops and we're going home. See you later. You guys sort it out.
I think that's what will happen. And I think clowns like Starmer. I think people like Starmer in Germany and all the Baltic states who let's face it, have no army and no experience of fighting, right?
No money and
no money.
Prices, sky high energy prices. I mean,
the
Baltics, the Baltic Chihuahuas turned themselves off from the Russian electricity grid, and within 3 days, their electricity prices had gotten to the point where it was actually cheap. Oh no, that's a different story. But basically,
I'm not sure that's true.
In 3 days,
I'm not sure that was entirely true. I think it might have been. Well, there were some explanations, i.e., saying that they were taking the price of renewables at the wrong time and things like that. But the whole thing, effectively, they turned off a cheap supply of electricity because let's face it, you were getting everything cheaper from Russia. But once Putin blew up the Nord Stream, sent a missile into Poland, and now attacked Chernobyl, really.
Oh, yeah, let's move on. Come on, enough of these.
Oh no, we're not quite finished because this is one you sent in. So it now appears the American Air
Oh
Force
no,
are...
I just meant move on to the next slide.
Oh, right. So it now appears the American Air Force are acting as a taxi service for Russian officials because, Russia can't fly into Europe. So where did they fly to? Like Belarus or something? And the Americans picked them up and then flew them over.
I think this might have actually been a prisoner exchange.
Oh, right. Was it?
I saw that. Yeah, it was. I saw it later in the day. And I think because they're essentially the Russians and the Americans have swapped prisoners. I've only heard about one on each side.
Yeah, okay. This one says, though, Trump said the Russian and American officials will meet in Munich tomorrow.
Well, I mean, it would make sense given the current state in Europe, and also because if I was an American politician like Trump or someone, and I was trying to start a conversation with the Russians after essentially my country had just treated them like shit for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
It would be, it's the same as releasing prisoners. It's a goodwill gesture. It doesn't cost anything apart from a bit of aviation gas. And it also circumvents a whole bunch of issues with the Europeans, because if they suddenly have to try and convince the Europeans to let Russian planes in, then essentially they give the Europeans some power. And one of the things that the Americans seem to specifically be trying to do is to not involve the Europeans and the Ukrainians in anything to do with their conversation with Russia, because they know damn well that they're just going to get in the way. The Europeans would deny overflight rights, or they would do it at the very last minute and in the most public and embarrassing way possible. So the Americans are just like, and the Russians know that. So the Russians, they were probably talking, and the Americans were like, why didn't you come to Munich? And the Russians were, well, we can't fly through European airspace and we don't trust them. So the Americans are like, okay, it's fine, we'll come and get you. No problem, we'll send a jet.
Right. Victor Meldrew's not looking great these days, is he?
He's one of the most venal, vile, disgusting, obscenely awful human beings that has lived in the last 100 years.
Yeah, I agree. He is horrible, isn't he? Don't worry, Stuart. The rabbit hole will be back next week, won't it, Ed?
Yeah, sorry about that. Neither of us could cope with it yesterday. I both needed the night off. I
was up to my ears in fixing the car. I didn't get finished till about 7 last night, so there's no chance I was in any fit state to do what would you call it?
Rabbit
hole. A show.
Yeah.
Because
the rabbit holes, they will take more. They take more work than the all-ins as well.
Yeah, and I was too busy all week, trying to get stuff and get the car done. So, yeah. So that's that. Right. Anyway, moving on. So, this one came from you, I think. This was the one about DOGE and how.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a genius. It's a bit of a genius plan, isn't it? Do you want to explain it?
Yeah, it turns out that Musk and Trump didn't just create DOGE out of thin air. There was a government department that was created by Obama that was basically not being used, but had been given a similar sort of oversight function that Trump and Musk wanted to have for DOGE. And so instead of having to go through all of the hassle and nonsense of creating an entire government agency, they just repurposed one, which meant that it's made it much more difficult for the Democrats or for anybody to stonewall them on it, because they haven't had to get approval for anyone. They're just retooling an agency that already existed. And it's bloody genius. It explains why they've been able to hit the ground running, as it were, because they had this agency in place. They've made a whole bunch of changes, and they haven't actually had to put an infrastructure in place, because this agency already had buildings, it already had people, and that made it much, much easier. But more importantly, it was created by Obama, which is absolutely hilarious. And so, yeah, Trump has weaponized an Obama-era organization that wasn't really doing very much, certainly not doing what it was supposed to, and giving it to Elon Musk has put it on steroids. And I mean, I think they've got people going into the IRS. They're talking. I mean, the plan is for DOGE to audit the entire government. I mean, just before we came on air, I saw that they just posted a tweet saying that they've found $1.8 billion or something that was essentially had been allocated but not used. And because of the insanity of the American government's way it works, the money was essentially just locked up and nobody could do anything with it. And so they've used DOGE and the Treasury to unlock that money, and they've essentially just magicked $1.8 billion out of Elon Musk's hat.
Yep. Right. So the genius part as well is Obama literally built the perfect administrative IT back door.
Yeah.
So Trump and Musk have just hijacked the system and taken the admin controls so they can get into any federal IT system.
Absolutely.
Legally.
Yeah.
Legally.
Mm-hmm. This is what happens when you let super nerds into your government.
So I would say, Dreadeye, I reckon it probably takes you about half an hour to 45 minutes per. Right. This is a shame, isn't it? Jimmy Savile's pal died.
I'm supposed to shed a tear over a dead pedo.
I'm just saying it's a shame.
How is a dead paedophile in any way a shame?
Oh my God. For fuck's sake. Sarcasm. Sarcasm.
Sorry, it's the wrong meeting.
Right.
This is nuts.
Yeah.
People, I mean...
These are the same guys that stirred up trouble over George Floyd.
Yeah. It's just... I mean, the level of craziness is... And the thing is that DOGE is specifically trying, and it has...
New donation from Nick
and
Tarradas.
cancelled loads of waste, loads of things that taxpayers don't want government to be spending money on. Yay!
We got a donation from the Nick Tarradas. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
But
Appreciate it.
The thing is that the other side accuses... Well, that side accuses the other side of being violent and wanting to overthrow things, and you have January 6th and all this nonsense. But actually, they're the ones that do most of the violence. I mean, if you look at the BLM, you look at Antifa, it's bonkers. And all that the current US government is trying to do is clean the country up a bit, stop wasting loads of money, sort out the economy and benefit everybody. And these guys just want the gravy train to keep running. That's the thing.
Do you follow football at all, Ed?
No.
I didn't think you did. Yeah, right. So BBC Scotland have come out with this wonderful advert saying UK men and women can expect to live longer. This is BBC Scotland, remember. It varies, but we're either 87% or 95% white, and they've managed to creep in diversity and are representative of each of the three genders.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just...
Until our advert.
There are few organisations that deserve to be shut down more than the BBC.
Yeah,
literally.
yeah.
Just have so little time for them. They just get worse and worse and worse and worse. And frankly, they've gotten to the point now where I just find it offensive.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, if they want to continue in any form, there should be a subscription service.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be forced to pay for them.
Exactly. If their content is so good, let the people who want to watch it pay for it, and we're done.
Content used to be good, right? And this is what I think they're trading on just now, because they're still selling their old content across the world.
Probably the old content that's the only stuff that makes money.
Yeah.
And what's worse, what's even more galling is that if you go back 20, 30, 40 years and you look at some of the BBC's properly good or funny or output, most of it wouldn't be made now because of all of the woke idiots. Literally.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know.
It's mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling. They're just, as an institution, they've just completely lost their way. And yeah, I'm just so done with them. Anyway, next slide.
Right.
Otherwise, I'll start ranting about the
Yeah.
BBC. I just
No, that's
can't be
okay.
bothered.
It's okay. Right, you brought this one up. This is the search history from the District of Columbia over the last 90 days. What could they possibly be searching for when they're looking for wipe and erase, Ed? What do you think these people are trying to do?
Well, the same things that because there's a few other searches that went off the charts, also relating to lawyers, like criminal attorneys searches, and also Swiss banks.
Swiss banks, and offshore accounts.
Yeah, offshore accounts and Swiss banks. So, yeah, I would imagine that there aren't very many shredders for sale in Washington right now.
I need a shredder. I'll put you in the queue.
Well, yeah, if anyone in the US that's listening that is thinking of opening a business, I would suggest buy one of those vans, put a big mobile shredder in it, and just drive around Washington. And I'm sure there'll be people wanting you to come along and shred all sorts of incriminating documents before Elon Musk and his nerds get their hands on it.
Hard drive shredders. Well, that big truck with the big metal thing that just grinds hard drives.
But
Get one of them.
I mean, this is the thing. As soon as it was like when USAID, we talked about this a bit last week. But when the USAID thing broke, and suddenly you realize that all of these like media organizations that are saying, oh, no, we're independent media. And you go to their website and we're proudly funded by our viewers. We don't get any money from anyone. And then there's a notice saying, oh, due to USAID shutting down, we're forced to suspend business because that's where we got all our money from.
That's a good point, because have you noticed who's disappeared off of X? NAFO.
No.
NAFO's just gone.
Oh yes, yeah. I've noticed that on my post. I replied to Olga Basova, for example, and just a little reply you'd get like 4 or 5 weeks ago. Yeah, I'd have 10 or 15 little NAFoids that I'd have to block.
Yeah,
and they're just because they're vile as well.
Oh, they are. Yeah.
And now you get 1 or 2, and it's just like, oh, hello, little Chihuahua, how are you? And it's fun because you feel like you can be a bit more open. And
I think I made 3 posts today deliberately trolling NAFO or NATO, right? And I've had no response from anybody.
Yeah.
And that's unheard of. Because normally you'd be put on lists and they'd be, calling you for all sorts of things. I've slagged Ukraine at least twice today, and nothing back about it. And it does hurt your engagement, because normally when you do that, you get loads of engagement, but they've gone. They have gone.
Only you could be sad that NAFO are gone.
Yeah. So Britmate's asking if you sent Olga a Valentine's card.
No, I didn't. I didn't send any Valentine's cards.
Right, moving on. Where shall we go?
Plus,
Did you see that
theory that Olga Basova might actually be Maria Zakharova?
Yeah,
in disguise.
Which could be. I think you may be right. Did you see this? Oh, I've wound the Indians up occasionally, but
I missed that one. What was the context?
He's in India, right? The reporter asked him a question, and it's an Indian man. He asked him a question very quickly, and he's talking like that. And Trump just goes, "Can't understand the word you're saying." Next. That's a great question, but I can't understand the word you're saying. Next. Which I thought was a classic.
Yeah, it's yes, that's funny. I can relate because I've had IT support.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Calls. We did a. I was sitting in on a demo for a prospective client in India. And you're trying to be really polite and stuff, and sometimes they say things, and you're just like, "What the fuck did he just say?" What? And I can see my colleague like thinking the same thing, And then you have to kind of ask them to repeat themselves and stuff. And then you're also on a scratchy phone line as well, or a scratchy line too. Mental. But Trump, the thing with him is he just doesn't. He's like,
he says it. He just says it exactly as he would.
And he also seems to have left all his fucks back in 2020.
Oh, he has.
Like 2020.
He definitely has. Did you see him? Well, I'll tell you a little story. When I worked for a major high street bank, we had what were they doing? I think they were writing. These guys were writing a database for something, right? Or they were handling a database or rewriting a database or something, and we had a whole office full of Indians, right? Because it was contracted out to a big company who tend to use Indians. So we had a whole office in Glasgow full of Indians, right? And I had to get down and deal with them sometimes, and it's a nightmare because you can't understand a word they're saying even when they're speaking English. Because these guys, they get flown over for 6 months and then sent back. Because they're not. I don't think they're even here on proper work visas. I think they just come in on tourist visas.
Probably.
We need something like DOGE in this country. We really do.
But it's when they come over and they get trained up and then they go back and then suddenly you find out the company's moving all the operations to India. And it's right, okay.
Well, that's
why they came over.
That's like my son. He's lost his job. They were he was working for TikTok. They had to review videos all the time, and this was English videos. You know, the English speaking side of things. So they moved the entire operation that dealt with the English-speaking videos and reviews and, you know, whether something was okay or had to be censored. They moved the whole lot, right, to Kuala Lumpur. So that's gonna work well.
Yeah, I mean, but this is the problem that Europe has got. This is the basic. Europe is now so uncompetitive.
Yeah.
It's so wrapped up in its own legislation, and in the EU's case, all of the different red tape and expenses and the cost of living and all of that stuff is essentially it's like someone's shoved a pillow over the European economy and is just suffocating it to death. Well, it's like the EU itself, like the EU Commission and just the whole system. We've got ancient political systems they're just creaking. I mean, they're so wrapped up in themselves and their own thing. It's just it's understandable why Europe particularly is in the state that it's in.
I think Johnny John needs to G up his spelling of Glasgow and things like that, because that's not even if you say that phonetically, it doesn't sound like how you would say Glasgow or Glaswegian. But anyway, I'll leave him to it because he's obviously on a beef. He doesn't like it when I insult Indians, does he? Because they are fucking untrustworthy, lying bastards all the time. Anyway, sorry, carrying on. A transgender doctor had the right to use a female changing room under a health board's equality and diversity policy an employment tribunal has held. So this chap.
There's very little that I can say about this story without getting the channel into trouble.
I just thought I'd bring it out. I just thought I'd bring it out for people's attention because it's outrageous, absolutely outrageous.
Kelly J. Keane, Posey Parker, she posted. I would direct everyone to go to her Twitter thread, and she posted something about this that was just so bang on that due to the nature of speech restrictions currently in the UK and the world, I think and with this, the thing that got me about this story is that apparently the woman who has essentially been involved in this, I think she actually just left the changing room when this individual walked in.
Yeah.
and left the changing room in such a way as to cause offence or something, or maybe this particular individual always wanted to see that woman in their knickers or something. I don't know. But this is
It's not
this is a misogynistic control freak that's using this as a weapon, and there's something very narcissistic and very creepy and wrong. The pictures that I've seen of him, I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Creeps me out. Really creeps me out, that one.
Right, moving on. U.S. Senate confirms Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the health secretary.
One of the best bits in news all week.
So make America healthy again. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you got to give him credit. The guy's in good shape for his age. I mean, he's what, 70?
Well, if you compare it to the last secretary of HHS, which was that transgender thing,
Rachel Levine,
Richard Levine,
Admiral Rachel Levine.
Yeah.
That's fucking unbelievable.
This is the other thing that's worth mentioning about this one is if you actually read the executive order that Trump signed at the same time, and it's extremely comprehensive. And it'll be very interesting to see what happens, because there's talk of, I mean, the first thing he's mentioned is that he wants to set up a vaccine injuries reporting system that's fit for purpose.
Okay.
And he's made all sorts of different claims of things he wants to do. And if even half of them happen, it'll not just be good for America, it'll be good for the world. And we'll have to wait and see. Ultimately, it's difficult to know what exactly is going to happen. But if the rest of the Trump administration is anything to go by, and you look at what they've done on the southern border, and you look at what Elon's doing, and all of this other stuff, then yeah, we'd hang on to your hats. But in this particular case, I don't agree with Bobby Kennedy about everything, particularly his thoughts on Israel. But everything that he has ever said about health and the health of Americans and things like pesticides and stuff, I'm totally on board with that. I was a huge fan of him until he opened his gob about Israel.
Well, Israel's a very dividing subject. If you've got skin in the game or whatever, fair enough.
I got no kids.
I don't care either way, right? Because to be honest, the whole thing's a shit show, and they really just need to sort things out themselves. But the problem is that it does seem to have an untoward effect on what goes on in American politics. You know, they do seem to have an awful lot of lobbying power there.
Yeah, they did. I mean, and so, what Israel, yes, they always have done. And I mean, again, it's going to be interesting to see what Trump does, because ultimately he's not going to run for re-election. So
yeah, but he's not going to.
No, I mean, if someone pays you $100 million, then you kind of got to, I suppose you sort of got to do what they say a bit. But at the same time, he's an extremely wily politician now, and he seems to have learned an awful lot, certainly in the 4 years that he was in power and in the 4 years that he was out of power. And he seems to be doing his best to make some real change in the world. We'll just have to see what happens to that. But Israel's just, I mean, they own our government, they own most European governments, they own the Australian government. It's crazy.
Anyway, moving on. Labour has rejected parents' right to see what their children are being taught. So the call has involved. The problem was that some schools are hiding and blocking parents from seeing sex education materials that are being taught to their children.
Well, if you have nothing to fear, you should have nothing to hide. That's what the government always tells us.
Yes, that's true. They do say that.
If they're stopping parents from seeing material that their kids, if that was, if I had kids, which I don't, and one of the reasons I don't have kids is because of the bullshit like this. But if I did, I would be looking to homeschool. Obviously.
Yeah. I think
you're
right.
Given if
it's crazy.
Absolutely, and when the kids are, if you send your kid to school and the teacher is there, essentially trying to confuse them about whether they're a boy or a girl, or a cat or a chicken or a duck, or whether they like boys or girls. I mean, little kids, you shouldn't be talking to them about sex anyway. That comes later. Let them be kids, crying out loud. And I don't understand what this obsession is with all this indoctrination.
I don't see any. I can't see any reasonable need to tell kids about sex education in primary school.
No,
I just can't.
I mean, once they hit secondary school, once they hit puberty,
fine.
And it's primarily parents that should be doing that, but parents don't for whatever reason. But at the same time, there's a difference between teaching kids about the birds and the bees and convincing them that they might be being born in the wrong body.
Yeah.
And that's what this is all about. But it's also, it speaks to a larger problem, this particular story, because this is about the government. I remember when I was with my ex, she'd had some kids put into care. And one of the things that the social workers say is that they're not your kids. They effectively belong to the government. This is how the government sees the situation. The government sees all children as belonging to them, and the parents belong to them as well as it goes.
Yeah.
But the parents are adults and have free will. But it's the fact that the government knows best, and if you disagree, then you can just not be told.
But it's supposed to be the other way around. The government's supposed to belong to us.
It's also teaching this whole notion that the government is essentially saying to kids that there are things that they shouldn't tell their parents, or that there's things that they should hide from their parents. And essentially the government is saying that's okay. And that is unbelievably wrong as well.
Yeah.
I mean, because ultimately parents are responsible for their children.
Well, they are. Oh, they should be, yeah. Yeah.
Precisely. And anything the government does to get in the way of that, ultimately, okay, there has to be safeguarding. But safeguarding to me is it can also be turned around and used for control, both of parents and kids.
Right, let's move on. Family of kids who froze to death reached out at least 3 times to Detroit's homeless response team. Right, so in this day and age, in what is supposed to be the greatest country in the world, how can kids freeze to death on the street? How can that happen in a civilized society?
Because it's not a civilized society. I agree with you. I think it's tragic, and this story is horrific. And unfortunately, it's not just Detroit, although it also doesn't really surprise me that the story involves Detroit, because that's one place that ever since the fall of the US motor industry, I mean, it used to be called Motor City. It was one of the biggest, most productive cities in the United States. And it's almost what's the right word? Can't remember the word, but it's symbolic of the downfall of. Well, no, not quite. It's a. It's on the end of my tongue. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But it's emblematic,
right,
of the downfall of the West.
Yeah, I think it is. Anyway, moving on. You brought this one up, Ed. Google drops pledge over use of AI for weapons surveillance. So this is Google who, and let me remember back, did they not have a motto that says "Don't do evil" or "Don't be evil"?
Don't be evil.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So what's happened to that?
Well, it's gone out of the bloody window along with everything else. And I mean, we already know about because there's a company that Whitney Weber's covered a lot called Palantir, which
Yeah.
is connected to Peter Thiel and the CIA.
Yeah, I
and
know
all
about
sorts of
Palantir.
dodgy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Quite
But
doing quite a lot of work in the UK.
well, this stuff is frightening because, I mean, the Israelis have been using 2 AI systems, one called Lavender and one called Where's Daddy? And no, seriously, it's sick. It's absolutely, with the Where's Daddy system uses WhatsApp groups because
Oh my God.
Facebook was basically sharing WhatsApp data, and they can't see your messages, but they know if you're in a group with someone, and they know if you're communicating with someone. And quite often, from an intelligence gathering perspective, that can actually be just as useful as being able to read the messages themselves. And the Israelis were using that information to target Palestinians in Gaza, and they have a system, the Where's Daddy system, waits until the target gets home, and then they get targeted. So you don't just take them out, you take the whole family out. And this is all being done by AI. Lavender is essentially kill lists, where it's looking at people associated with people. And if someone's in a WhatsApp group with someone who's the brother of someone in Hamas, for example, then they go on this kill list. And that's essentially what's been determining where the Israelis have been bombing and who they've been targeting. And the fact that we're have these people not watched Terminator movies for crying out loud? I mean,
Person of interest.
Well, exactly. You would think that some of these boffins would think, maybe we shouldn't be doing it. It's like, oh, fuck's sake. Honestly, it's just
The Forbin Project.
yeah. I mean,
science fiction's been telling us about this since the 70s.
Exactly.
I mean, even 2001: A Space Odyssey, when the computer goes nuts, you know.
I'm sorry, Dave.
I can't do that, Dave.
I mean, it does make you think that if humans exterminate themselves, or if we create a race of robots that exterminates us, we'll really have it coming. Honestly, we will.
Yeah, we will.
It was like that video we looked at, not the video, but the pictures of the guys in the room kicking the robot last week.
Yes, yeah.
It's like that shit is how AI gets pissed off with us and Terminators happen.
They were just culturally enriching the robot.
Oh, jeez. And also
Moving
people
on.
are such hypocrites. It's like,
Yeah,
ugh.
they are. Right, Pam Bondi has announced that charges have been filed against the state of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul, and AG Letitia James for failing to enforce immigration law. Good on you, Pamela. Or Pam. Her name is Pamela. How is this woman, what, 60 years old?
She can't be 60. She's not 60, surely.
Hold on a minute. Let me see. Let me just check.
And that's, and I don't know, unless she's found the elixir of youth or something, that does not look anywhere close to a 60-year-old lady.
Let me hold on.
I mean,
we're getting there.
maybe her 40s.
Sorry, she's 59.
Holy shit. Okay. Well, every other woman on the planet needs to find out what her beauty regimen is.
I think she may have a picture in the attic.
Maybe that's possible. She does not look like 59. Crikey.
I know.
And she's an attorney general, so she's like a lawyer as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Beauty and brains. Well, having said that, people would go, look at Keith, he's the Prime Minister and he's a lawyer. Nobody's ever going to say fucking beauty and brains there, are they?
No, they'll probably just puke all over him. It's just, but also it's not the fact that she's an intelligent, rather attractive woman, but also the fact of what she's doing is essentially taking on states that have deliberately had lax immigration policies. New York has been one of the worst. And it's essentially, by all accounts, turned New York into a bit of a shithole.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because it was a shithole back in the 70s. And then they cleared it up. They cleaned it up in the 80s and 90s to the point where it wasn't a shithole anymore. And now it's gone back to being a shithole. You've got to feel for the poor New Yorkers.
You do. Because I was in New York in 1981, 82, something like that. And there was an aura of menace about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't totally bad, but there was this kind of aura, especially in some of the less salubrious areas, like the bus station. And of course, we were traveling by bus because I was a poor backpacker, you know. But yeah, it was interesting. LA was great. LA was fantastic to visit. It was weird because it was really like, it was almost like hippie-ish California. Well, I mean, I'm just glad that I had that experience at that age, you know.
I'm sure.
You know, because you're not going to get it now.
No, I'm sure. If you did the same trip now, it would probably be very different. I haven't really been to the US that much. I've never been to New York. It all comes from things that I read and see and hear from other people who have. But I think that previous story, it also, Trump is not screwing around. It's like he knows he's got 4 years and there's a clock ticking.
He's gone for it. He's gone for it.
And he's not messing around, which is good.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, I think that's what Americans voted for, frankly.
Yeah, I think that
the ones that voted for him anyway. The ones that didn't vote for him are probably still peeing their knickers in the corner or something.
Well, I'm sure they are. Right. So Labour has scrapped the tariffs on Chinese imports, which will make Chinese imports cheaper. And if you're competing against China as a small business, you're screwed. But hey, let's face it, it doesn't matter what party's in power. Tories, SNP, Labour, whatever. They're all shafting businesses. Every small business is getting shafted.
Absolutely. And they don't stop shafting them. This government might be worse.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just detest the Prime Minister with the burning, passionate fury of 1,000 stars. I don't think I've hated a UK politician as much as him since Cyril Smith, someone like that. Some really grotesque, nasty, evil piece of work. And he doesn't give a shit about the country. He doesn't give one single microscopic shit about anybody apart from himself.
Yeah.
And he's just surrounded himself with incompetent yes men. And the whole government's just a complete disaster. We've got another 4 years of those idiots as well.
Yeah. And in fact, actually, this might be a good opportunity to play this little clip from our friend J.D. Vance. Hold on.
Most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizen suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
I think you're right. JD. Anyway,
I to be honest, because it's only just, that speech only happened today. And what there's one tiny little takeaway. You notice how we use meters, not feet? And he talked about pounds and not dollars. Now, for an American,
that's good though.
For a European, that would be standard, but for an American politician, to talk in terms of meters, to me, speaks volumes. I found him, because I haven't really listened to him that much. I didn't even know.
If he'd really thought about it, feet would probably have been more appropriate for an English stroke UK audience.
But to European audience.
Well, that's true.
And he's actually in Munich.
Yeah, he's in Munich, guy. Fair point. No, you're right. Fair point.
It's more the fact that an American politician is actually talking those terms. I thought he was really eloquent. I thought it was absolutely hilarious how he's turned up to the Munich Security Conference and he spent his entire speech berating Europe and saying the problem's not Russia, the problem is you.
Yeah. And they're all like, this is shocking. How dare you turn up here and give us a lecture on democracy?
Well, they said so afterwards. The German Steinmeier, the German president, and also Vance point blank refused to meet with Olaf Scholz because he said, "Well, 9 days you're not going to be chancellor anymore. There's no point talking to you."
Yeah, well, he's got a point, hasn't he?
I don't know if that's actually true. I didn't hear that from Vance's mouth, but that was.
But it would be a cracker if he did.
Oh yeah, but. The thing about that is it's another situation, which is typical in Europe these days, where he's saying something and the whole European population is pretty much agreeing with him, and all the European leaders are all losing their shit because he's pointing out the bleeding obvious. And it just goes to show you how he seems to be working. It's like he cares more about the European continent than the European leaders do. That's how that speech came across. And when you look at the reactions, the hysterical, in some cases, reactions to that speech, it's mind-blowing. It's just so obvious, and they can't even see it.
So here's one from Tom Nuttall. Blistering response by Boris Pistorius, Germany's defense minister, to J.D. Vance's speech, right? Quote, democracy does not mean that a vociferous minority can decide what truth is. Democracy must be able to defend itself against extremists. End quote. Well, hold on. The way that we do democracy, it means exactly that. A vociferous minority does decide what truth is. Because Labour Party is not a majority.
BBC is not a majority.
Labour Party were voted in by, 18% of the voting population? That's not a majority. Okay, they have a majority in Parliament. That doesn't make them a majority. They're not representing the will of the people. They're representing themselves. This is the problem. So, I think...
the 18% that bloody voted.
No, I know, they don't.
Based on what's happened to Starmer's ratings since the election... A large chunk of that 18% is probably got really bad Schadenfreude right now.
Yeah. So Johnny Cannibal asked, do I like Vance's mascara? If he wants to wear mascara, fair enough. It's up to him. My brother used to wear mascara. I have never seen a little shit that shagged so many girls in his life as my brother. He was a mod as well. He used to get out with a parka on and a target on his back.
Yeah, there's no accounting for female taste.
Oh, he was just an embarrassment. Because I was a biker. I was a biker. And then...
classic mods and rockers problem.
Yeah. Of course, his scooter was in getting fixed one day and I had to give him a lift in to get his scooter on the back of my bike. So he's sitting on the back of my bike with a mod parka on. I'm driving down the road thinking, I hope I don't meet anyone I know. Right.
God.
Anyway.
Moving on.
Apple. What's Apple done now? They have
Can't
started.
see a slide.
They have. Oh, sorry. They have started advertising on X again.
I've noticed a lot of
They're all
people
coming
started
back.
advertising on X again.
Yeah, they're all coming back, aren't they? So, and did we touch on this last week? Because X is now actually making, albeit small, but they are now actually making a profit, I believe.
Which did they ever make a profit when they were under Dorsey? I don't think they did.
Oh, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure Twitter was ever massively profitable.
Oh, I don't think it was, but especially
And it's
latterly.
sure. But like I said, I've noticed other big companies starting to advertise on X again, and the simple fact is they haven't been able to kill it. And then also, when you go to other social networks like Truth Social or whatever, even Facebook or Instagram,
Yeah.
the number of posts that are actually just screenshots from Twitter is phenomenal.
Although, having said that, the number of videos on X that are straight from TikTok is ridiculous.
And Instagram as well. But I mean, but there's no problem with the cross pollination. We see things that we like and we share them.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a testament to the way that Musk has been able to turn X around.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
And also because he's now fairly high up in the US government.
So actually, let's talk about that briefly if we can. What did you see him interacting with his child and Donald and the press corps in the Oval Office?
Yeah, there was a really cheesy picture that Musk posted of little X. I mean, how can you name your just? Because it must be so confusing. He's like, I'm just posting this on X. Oh, yes, Daddy. But there was a picture of little X playing around Trump's desk, and Trump was sitting there on the phone, and it didn't look exactly like the famous picture of JFK Jr. But
with JFK Jr. At least that was his kid, whereas like Trump's sitting there like I don't know, like a spare prick actually. When Musk was doing this, I didn't like the optics. I didn't think it played well. It made Trump look a bit owned. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just didn't like it.
To be honest, all bets are off. I mean, we're talking about two of the most unpredictable, eccentric, outspoken people on the planet who also happen to be exceedingly rich and now exceedingly powerful. And I'm not sure what their intention was behind that. I don't know. I don't know whether it's take your kid to work day.
He does that a lot. He takes his kid all over the place with him, and that's fine, but
he's also a single dad because I mean he and the missus split up. So
yeah, but let's face it, he's got fucking plenty of money, right?
Well, yeah, but at the same time, as the child of a father who was constantly absent, and I was raised by nannies.
Yeah.
In Zambia, particularly.
Well, that's what makes you a cunt.
Well, probably.
See, this is what's probably made me a cunt as well, because my father was mainly absent as well, because of 22 years in the Navy, 17 of them he spent at sea.
Sure. Absolutely. But then at the same time, if you're in a position like Musk, I would rather see him spending time with his kid than read stories about how the kid's just being raised by nannies.
Yeah, okay.
And spends time with his dad.
I understand that, but he's in the Oval Office. There's a time and a place, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
maybe I'm just a traditionalist. Maybe I'm just a traditionalist. I don't think it was professional. I don't think it was terribly impressive. And the kid himself seems to be a little brat. He really does. He seems to be an entitled, spoilt little brat. But then again, maybe I'm a traditionalist, you know?
Well, I've never met the kid, but this is Elon Musk we're talking about. I mean,
yeah, I know. He will be an entitled little brat.
I don't know. I can't figure that guy out. I mean, 1 minute I think it's like if you look at the whole DOGE thing.
Yeah.
What it's actually doing, it's doing it in a very uniquely Elon sort of way, but actually has the potential to be pretty revolutionary for the United States in terms of how their government works.
I think it's a great idea, but whose idea was it? Do you think? Do you think it was Trump's, or do you think it was Musk's?
I think it was a confluence. I think that Trump might have gone to Musk and said, "Can you do with the US government what you did with Twitter, please?"
Yeah,
because when you see all of the publicity for when Musk bought Twitter and he walks in with the sink and immediately starts sacking people and making people justify their jobs and putting them on retirement and all this kind of stuff, and then actually turns it into a much more efficient, lean organization. They've been able to. They've withstood advertising boycotts, and I mean the fact that we've just commented on Apple returning advertising to X, is a testament to the kind of pressure that the platform was put under, and he's managed to keep it going. And I mean, do I trust him? No. Do I like him? Well, I've never met him, but no, because he's just a bit odd. But then maybe if I sat down and had a massive zoot with him, that I'd like him a bit more. I don't know. I mean, but nobody's perfect as well. This is the thing. And yes, he's an eccentric billionaire. I don't know if genius is the right word for it, but he's certainly got some serious organizational skills.
Oh, well, I mean, to be fair, most of the stuff that he comes up with is either somebody else's work or he's got good people working for him. You know what I mean?
Sure, but then ultimately that's what leadership is.
Yeah, I'm not knocking it. Not knocking it. I'm just
absolutely. For me, I think we should wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
And I suggest we wait and see with the kid as well, because if Mini X turns into an entitled little brat, then
I mean, you know me,
you'll be proved right.
I don't like people, and I like other people's kids even less. so what's his name? I think who was it? Espresso TV says he's using his kid to endear himself to people. Well, see, that doesn't work because. It doesn't work for me because I just don't like other people's kids.
But maybe, I mean, I'd had the same thought actually, that it was an image thing, and at the same time, because he's having to make lots of brutal decisions, and lots of people are getting sacked, and taking his kid to work. I think maybe it does soften his image a little bit. Maybe not in your eyes, but certainly in the eyes of plenty of Americans who are watching Trump do all this stuff, and they're like, "Oh, people are losing their job." But actually, I mean, it could just be very clever marketing, because, I mean, that's one of the things that Musk is very good at, is the marketing side of things, and also to some extent the self-promotion.
Although his shares have tanked in Tesla. I don't know what the sales are like. Somebody said, who was it said? Somebody said something about Tesla sales, but his shares have tanked. They've really dropped. Right, anyway, moving on. Let's move on. This pair, did you see this pair? This couple of nurses from Australia? They didn't do themselves any favours at all, did they? Did you see this? No?
Yeah. Well, no, I saw the story.
Did you not see the video?
No.
Oh, it's quite vile.
Yeah, no, I tend not to watch videos like that. There's enough disturbing things in my brain without adding to.
Yeah, I mean, there's time and a place to do stuff, and it's probably not when you're in work.
If you're working, look, if you're in a work, the whole thing about hospitals is hospitals should treat people regardless of who they are And the people working in hospitals should be giving everybody the same level of respect and care, regardless of what their personal views are. And I mean, ultimately, one might have, I've got them myself, very strong views about the Israeli government. But at the same time, sick Israelis in hospital deserve exactly the same level of care and respect and compassion that any other sick fucker in hospital.
Well, if you ever used to watch MASH,
a brilliant series.
Brilliant,
That's another one that wouldn't get made anymore.
That taught you had to treat a Korean prisoner of war just as effectively as you would an American GI. Did it not?
Well, yeah, in the case of MASH, not very, but yeah, that's
no, but they did.
Principle of the thing.
But that was their principle. You know, they were doctors, and they treated everyone. They would save everyone regardless. Right. Anyway, moving on. The wife of the judge blocking Trump administration is a U.S. aid grant recipient. You can't make this up, can you?
You really can't. You really, really can't. And I mean, this particular just. I already when the judge made the ruling, I was already looking for the reason why he would do it, and then I saw this story and it's like, oh, ping! It all makes sense. I mean, the level of corruption, and if you look at some of the issues the United Kingdom has with its judges,
I agree.
There seems to have been this. I don't know. I hesitate to use the word conspiracy because we're talking about all in, but there's a lot of compromised judges around the world.
Yeah, there seems
it's
to
not
be.
Just here. I mean, if you look at places like Canada and Australia, and it's like some nasty evil thing has embedded itself in the judiciary and killed justice. Because this is just, and he's also a really creepy looking guy. I just think someone needs to check his laptop.
The legal profession is rife with I don't know what to say. I don't know what to call it these days.
Well, there was actually, Musk posted a poll saying should judges like this, should corrupt judges be impeached?
Yeah, they probably should, yeah.
And it was like 95 or plus % said yes. And he did his Vox Populi, Vox Dei thing. And the thing with Musk now is when he posts a poll, I'm half expecting it to turn into US government policy the next day.
Yeah. So Robin asked a good question. Are you guys not sure this is not part of a Build Back Better plan? Well, maybe it is, but if it is it doing any harm?
Robin, I think that 50 times a day at least. Yes, it could well be. One has to look at it in terms of actual events. And I mean, like the USAID thing, defunding that was unbelievably clever, because if they tried to go for all of these different NGOs that were doing immigration, and I think a lot of it was to do with Trump's immigration policies as much as anything else. But it's turned into this massive spider's web. And did Musk and Trump and co know where the tentacles of USAID extended? Maybe they knew some of them and they thought, we've got to deal with this. Maybe they weren't even specifically targeting USAID. Maybe it was just the general DOGE efficiency, and it's just been a happy side effect.
Yeah.
But it's exposed so much, and it's taken a lot of money away from a lot of nefarious actors. I mean, if you just getting, to be honest, it was worth it just to get rid of NAFO. I mean,
it's made an amazing difference.
It really has.
To the traffic on X.
Absolutely.
Which is just one thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it does seem to have even made a difference to the BBC.
Absolutely. And have you noticed, A, how no Western media organizations have been talking about it?
Yeah.
And B, how no foreign governments have been complaining about it? I mean, the Salvadorian president was even praising it, thought it was a brilliant idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I concur. Now, is other bad shit going to happen? Probably.
Yeah.
But then also, if we look at J.D. Vance's speech in Munich, I was riveted listening to that, and just listening to him say an awful. If you put me up on a stage like that in front of all of those people, there's a whole bunch of stuff that he was saying that I'd love to say to them.
Yeah,
literally, honestly, almost exactly the same words as well. And he's very eloquent and intelligent, and he obviously knows what he's talking about. And I mean, yeah, he's inexperienced. But I think if that's the caliber of American leadership going forward for the next 4 years, then we might actually see some positive change in the world.
Yeah.
And the European leaders won't like it, but fuck them.
Actually, Robin touches on a thing as well here. Now the BBC wants to tax me because I don't watch it. Yeah, I understand that. I understand what they want to do, but I think this one in particular is a great test of the British mettle, because we've already deserted the BBC in droves by not paying the licence fee, right? So if they now try and tax everyone, regardless of whether you watch the BBC or not, I think that would be a great test. Because if nobody pays, then I think that sends a clear message.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
not just about the licence fee, but a clear message completely.
And it's coercive as
well. Well, it is.
The letters that you get and the attitude that because it's Serco that does the collection.
Yeah.
And the attitude that they take towards you is really intimidating.
Yeah.
And ultimately they don't have the kind of power that they like to claim that they do. And the whole thing. And then what's worse is that you have those BBC wombats that will go, or BBC supporters, that will spout off about how, no, it's not state media, it's funded by the license fee, the people pay for it. Yeah, out of coercion.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to start ranting about the BBC, so let's change the slide.
Moving on. So this happened at the beginning of the week. There was an armed standoff in Sheffield, right? So we had what appeared to be a guy with a knife who may or may not have had a hostage in a flat, and there was some threat about there being a bomb, right? It took 36 hours to resolve this. 36 freaking hours. That's ridiculous.
Why so long?
Because nobody with a sniper rifle was prepared to take a shot. That seems to me to be the answer, but maybe I'm just too gung-ho for this new world that we live in.
Well, I suspect that your particularly unique solution to the problem could actually work. I mean, there's a few other potential problems that a sufficiently motivated individual with a sniper rifle could potentially take care of if they saw fit.
And we shall move on that note.
Well, you were the one that brought the bloody thing up in the first place.
Chairman Comer and Congresswoman Luna hold a major press conference to make a major announcement. So this was them announcing that they were creating a UAP task, a congressional UAP task force. Well, not a UAP task force, a conspiracy theory task force, in effect, to reveal government secrets, and starting with the JFK assassination, and including things like not the Titanic, not the moon landings. What other things were they doing? They were doing the JFK.
Not doing 9/11.
Oh, the Epstein files. They're not doing 9/11.
JFK, RFK,
and UFOs.
And UFOs.
Yeah,
so
and
we're not being put out of business completely.
It'll be a load of pish.
Yeah,
that's what
I mean, I'm in agreement with you. We'll see. We might be surprised. I mean, certainly in the last few weeks, stranger things have happened. So we could both be proved wrong, and there might be some big revelations. But I will try and stop myself yawning in the meantime.
Nick, to read this, I think going back to the last one, says, did he have a hostage? I'm actually not sure because I gave up reading about it at one point. If he'd had a hostage, then the sniper rifle thing would have been valid. If he didn't have a hostage, you're supposed probably you were right to wait it out, but you didn't need to shut all the roads. I mean, what's he going to do with a knife? Fucking throw it at a car? You know, really?
Once he's thrown the knife at the car, it's pretty much done anyway.
Well, why didn't you just crash the door? I mean, all you need to do is, if he's not got a hostage and he's got a knife, you just fucking crash the door and ram him into a corner with a set of shields. It's not rocket science.
Well, it's just, it seems to be typical of the overbearing policing that we have to suffer in this country now.
Well, you know what? I posted something the other day, and I think it was a clip. It wasn't a clip. It was a gif from Demolition Man, and it was when the police officer is sitting at the desk goes, "What is it? We're police. We're not trained to deal with this level of violence." Because that's what the police is like these days. Say hearty words and bang, they'll be crashing the door in. But actually come at them with a knife and they'll be like, oh, no, don't go away.
Each year that has progressed since Demolition Man came out has seen the world get more and more like the world depicted in Demolition Man. It really has.
And Demolition Man was a fucking documentary.
Yeah, absolutely. And
what the fuck? Hold on a minute, Ed. Right, I need to deal with this, Robin. The BBC should sue YouTube for destroying their business. How the fuck is YouTube destroying the BBC's business model? I mean, I don't get that one at all.
Well, the whole point about YouTube is that it's crazy people like us making videos and posting them online.
Yeah.
And always has been. If the BBC, with all of their millions of pounds and highly trained presenters and production equipment and production technicians, if they can't outcompete me and John and people like us on YouTube, then they don't deserve to be in business.
We're going back to the hostage situation, okay? Because Nick Torida said they cleared out the block and a leisure centre as well, right? So we did this in Glasgow. When was it? 91 or something like that. So we were sent to reports of a guy with a shotgun going nuts in an address, and we get sent down, and we were sent round the back, me and my neighbour. So we were part of the firearms team, so we were round the back, and we were looking into this block of flats, and there was all these. There's like the stair in the middle. It's a tenement, but there was a stair in the middle with the big windows for the stair, and then all the houses down either side, right? You know, all the flats. And this guy was running up and down the stairs with a shotgun, and he was poking it through people's letterboxes and going, "Open the door or I'll blow the door off." And of course, being Glasgow, nobody opened the door, right? So he'd fallen out with his girlfriend who lived in the top flat or something, and she wouldn't open the door either. So round the front, we had two of us round the back to cover the back door, and we had another team at the front door, and then the guys got ladders and took everyone out their front windows and emptied the flats. Right? So there was nobody left in the flats. And then we sent a team in at the bottom to work up the stairways, and as they got about halfway up, one of the guys stood on some broken glass because the guy had been breaking the back windows and stuff like that. And one of the firearms team stood in the broken glass, and we were watching it, and I'm like, the tango's coming down the stairs, and he's approaching. He's going to cross into your field of view in a second, and the next thing, all you hear is bang bang, right? And that was the sergeant and the firearms team firing at the guy. And
why are they called tangos?
Well, terrorist or tango, terrorist or target. But anyway, so he fires at the guy, Tango. T for Tango.
NATO for Tango.
Yeah, NATO phonetic alphabet. Target, terrorist, Tango. So you use the NATO phonetic alphabet. So you always use a word. Yeah, Tango's an easier word for you to say than anything else because you're not going to confuse it with anything.
Oh, right. Got it. Right. Understood. Got it.
So anyway, Sergeant fires at the guy with 2 shots from an H&K using a red dot sight. The red dot sight sits above the barrel. He was that close to the fucking banister that the barrel was below the banister. So he put 2 in quick succession into the banister, right? And the guy, of course, that he was shooting at's like that. And he's like, I'm unharmed. And he retreats back up the stairs, and the other guys are like, what the fuck happened? And so the guy starts shouting, you're firing blanks, you bastard. And I'm like, fucking hell, what the hell have they done? So anyway, the firearms team retreated, and he's going, you're a bunch of wankers, you're firing blanks. And eventually he ran down the stairs, tried to run out the front door and got shot. If he tried to run out the back door, he'd have got shot as well, but luckily he didn't, and I didn't have to shoot him. But that's how we dealt with that, right? But henceforth, that sergeant was known as Roger Bannister.
Oh dear, well that's an appropriate nickname.
Well, his real name was Keith something. I'll not say his full name just in case. But we after that, Roger Bannister.
Dear. Right, moving on.
Right. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, don't apologise. It's an interesting story, but we've got, I don't know how many slides we've got.
Oh, we've still got 15.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Where's my fucking mouse? Right, there's. Right, so apparently, according to the Daily Mail, right, Ilhan Omar did marry her brother and said she would do what she had to do to get him papers to keep him in the US. She should be deported.
Yeah. This is tabloid journalism bullshit.
Yeah, but it's probably true.
Why have we been covering this?
Right, because I thought it was quite funny, but never mind. Right.
I mean, I agree she should be deported, but...
What about this shit? What was all this about, the HIV test thing? Is this his wife going, you're not coming near me, so don't even think about a Valentine's Day blowjob unless you get an HIV test?
Well, yeah, she probably insisted on an HIV test, and his team realised that he couldn't just go into a chemist or a doctor's and get an HIV test because there'd be all sorts of talk about it.
Yeah.
And so he does it publicly, and there's still all sorts of talk about it. I mean, apart from I'm not going to go into the whole there are no viruses and HIV is all nonsense, but yeah, there's just virtues. He's a virtue signaling twat, basically. That's what it comes down to. And I don't know, but I mean,
the whole thing's weird, though, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but also given the UK's involvement in biotechnology and genomics and stuff, it's maybe a marketing ploy for some British company that makes HIV tests to sell loads of HIV tests. Honestly, I mean,
we're living in rollerball. It's corporatism. Exactly. It really is corporatism, isn't it? When Musk is in the White House, right, and he's a corporate jockey. Gates is running the fucking vaccination centres of the world, right? He's a corporate jockey. Bezos is taking Captain Kirk to the moon to the space in a dick-shaped rocket. He's a corporate jockey. I mean, we are living in a corporate world.
Well, yes, and Benito Mussolini, who coined the term fascism, described it as a merger of corporate and state power. So one could, using that description, describe it as a fascist society. But
Yeah,
It's a very
okay.
emotive word.
So
I don't know.
Right, Nectaridus says he's been living in Ali's flat, and the rumour says he is of a certain persuasion that favours the male. Yeah, that's probably true. Well, I actually heard that he was bi.
Well, if you see the video of that speech therapist that he's supposed to have seen Christmas Eve,
yeah,
and honestly, if you watch the video of her defending herself and him, the way she gushes about him nearly made me puke.
Oh yeah. Honestly, see, that's
she's just, oh my God.
I did a little digging, not a lot, just a little digging, and they were both living in London at the time her son was born. Just saying. I mean, he's 28.
Into any trouble.
Her son's 28, but they were both living in London in very close, fairly close proximity at the time he was conceived.
All I will say is that I bet he's got more skeletons in his closet than your average Brit.
Yeah. Oh, he will have. He's in the legal profession, and as I've said, it's rampant in the legal profession, and many people in the legal profession have precautionary wives or husbands. You know, because it makes them look the part, but they're not into that. It's a completely different lifestyle. I know a lot of people that used to work in the legal profession, and obviously from my previous employment, and I had associations with people that were at university and stuff like that. And one of the guys I knew, he'd done a degree, and he'd got friendly with a girl that was there, and she was married and all that. And she phoned him up about 5 years later or something. You know, they'd kept in touch, and she phoned him up and says, my husband's come out as gay. And I'm like, fucking hell. We're not surprised, are we?
Starmer could come out as a fairy, and I really wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think he could.
Can we get that nasty, creepy weirdo off screen, please? Thank you.
Yeah, so Trump said he'd love to have Russia back in the G8, and they should never have been chucked out. And of course, Putin's fucking living at large, doesn't he? I mean, he every fucking everything is just falling at his feet, isn't it? He can do no wrong, you know.
Well, he's basically won.
Yeah, he has. I mean, everything's falling at his feet. Trump's bending over backwards to try and get him back into G8, and Russia turns around and goes, well, you know what, the G8's kind of done deal. Really doesn't have any power anymore. We'll maybe just stick with BRICS. And he is right, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing, and this is what all of those idiots in Munich that were like looking on in shock when JD Vance was talking, they're largely the ones responsible for it. I mean, you can't have a competitive economy with ridiculous energy costs. I mean, it's the foundation of modern economies, and they seem to live in this cloud cuckoo land. And the Russians are but they don't have to, because the Russians have beat the sanctions. They're beating Ukraine.
Yep. Did you see the guy? Did you see the Russian that went to not the Russian, Ukrainian went to Moscow to see for himself how badly it was affecting the Russians and how they were living? Went to a supermarket and broke down in tears.
Yeah,
because they were short of nothing.
And this is the problem with Western politicians and Western populations, is that they're believing the nonsense that's being spouted by the media. And when you actually look at it, large amounts of that nonsense is coming from Ukraine. Either that, or it's just they're living in some fantasy land that Russia is still the Russia of the 1990s. Yeah, and it just isn't. And I mean, they talk about, we can impact the oil price. The last time I checked, the oil part of the income for the Russian government was about 30%, was oil revenues.
Yes. So what is the oil price just right? You carry on. I'll just check. I'll check. You carry on.
And the thing about the Russian economy now is that the sanctions, if you force a country that has got everything it needs, it's got educated people, it's got resources, but it's easier to just rely on other people for manufacturing. If you isolate them to the point where you force them to do things for themselves, an industrious population is going to knuckle down. And effectively, the sanctions were a shot in the arm for the Russian economy. And it was literally just what the Russian economy itself needed to pull itself out of the chaos of the 1990s. And I follow a few people. There's one guy, Jacco, who's Dutch, married to a Russian, lived in Holland. And then I think the wife convinced him to move back to Russia. And he has so much fun playing with NAFO idiots and just the usual pro-Ukrainian trolls. And he loves it. But he regularly, he posts videos of supermarkets in Moscow and he'll run through his daily bills. I mean, the amount that average Muscovites pay for their energy costs and stuff would make your average British person weep by comparison. I mean, it's crazy, but the West is fed loads of lies and bullshit and they believe it. So that's how you end up in a situation where you completely overestimate a country.
Yeah.
Pour all of your blood and treasure and, well, someone else, Ukrainian blood and our treasure into an absolutely idiotic escapade trying to recreate. Okay, so let's just look back on history. We had Napoleon. Oh, he had the good idea of invading Russia.
Yeah. Don't do it.
Failed miserably. Ended up.
Just don't do it.
And then the other guy, the German, he tried the same thing. And now the current lot have tried the same thing. And the thing is that whereas history will look back on Napoleon and the other guy with a certain amount of maybe not respect, but kind of, they did that. They're just going to do the history books for the whole Russia. They're just going to be laughing at us.
So one of Trump's ideas, I think, was, or one of the US ideas was if they drove down the price of oil, right, that would adversely affect the Russian economy. But to get to the point where they have to adversely affect the Russian economy, they need to be about $45 a barrel. And it's currently at 70. If it goes below 70, all the new oil wells in the States, i.e. all the new drilled ones, or the ones in the Gulf of America, if it drops below 70, they stop making money. So they're actually going to hurt themselves before they would hurt Russia. That's the problem. They don't think these things through.
No. And it's the same with the Baltic states cutting themselves off from Russian electricity. It's the same as the Germans and the Europeans cutting themselves off from Russian gas. It's the same thing as the Ukrainians shutting down the gas transit.
Yeah.
And in the case of Ukraine, they didn't just get rid of a decent source of income, but they were siphoning gas off as it was passing through. And so they're now having to pay sky-high European prices for liquefied natural gas. I mean, the whole thing is so economically bonkers.
American
and we're
prices.
not even hurting Russia.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
This is the thing. It's not doing Russia any damage at all because they're just selling it to everybody else. And then selling it back to us via India.
Yes, or China. Let's move on. A lady was caught doing witchcraft during the Super Bowl game. She's poking this voodoo doll. Now, I don't know who is a representation of it. It looks more like Justin Trudeau doing blackface than anyone else. But imagine sitting there at a Super Bowl game with a voodoo doll, jabbing it with a pin. That's just sad.
Yeah, she also doesn't look like your average practitioner of voodoo. Mostly from the African American, Caribbean American community,
Asians,
places like Haiti.
Yeah.
which is some of the I mean, it's a continuation of some of the animistic practices of places like West Africa and stuff. I don't think
it's okay. It's okay. It's not a conspiracy theory. Let's just move on.
No, it's not. But I thought it's hilarious. The video is actually worth watching.
Yeah,
it's really funny.
That is funny. Right.
Even more funny if she was actually a born again Christian. Oh, you're not going there, are you?
No, I'm just saying this is Sweden, right? There has been a bit of a backlash. Okay, so people are putting bacon in things.
So the guy burns the Quran, gets shot.
Yeah, gets mobbed.
And now Swedish people are putting bacon on Qurans. And it wasn't just the Qurans. It was, if you watch the video,
the prayer mats and things as well.
Yeah, it's literally, they were just putting bacon everywhere. And
I would have expected that from Denmark, but Sweden, that's low. Right, let's move on.
All I was going to say about that one is that if you're trying to incite a religious war in your country, that's a very, very quick way to do it. And it's really not very sensible. I mean, I can understand people being pissed off.
You know what, mate?
That's just bonkers.
Right, you know what? That is low key when you consider there was 32 fucking bombings in January alone in Stockholm.
And that sort of thing is just going to encourage more.
Well, what do you do then? Right? Do you just lie back and let it happen? See, this is the problem. This is the problem. This is where multiculturalism breaks down, and it should never have been allowed to have occurred in the first place.
Yeah, and unfortunately, deportations.
Yeah.
Certainly of troublemakers. And criminals and people like that.
So I thought this was a joke, but it's not.
It's meant to ejaculate that. Hang on, I haven't seen this one.
Legislators in Ohio and Mississippi are trying to pass a new bill to make ejaculating a felony offence for men to ejaculate without intending to have a baby.
Right, so
how the hell are you gonna police that? That's just ridiculous. This is like when Hamza said you can't say hate speech around the dinner table in your own house.
No offence, John, but this is Ohio and Mississippi we're talking about.
Yeah, well, Scotland's not far away, mate. Let's face it. I mean,
Scotland's probably closer to Appalachia and that sort of area.
Yeah, well, it is, yeah. But if Hamza Yusuf turns around and goes, you know, when he was the what was he? No, he was the MP for fucking what's it called? The one for law?
I don't know.
Oh, anyway. He turned around and said, you can't do hate speech around your own dinner table in your own house. Now, how are you going to police that unless somebody in your own family dobs you in?
Well, unfortunately, the world we live in since COVID.
Yeah, you're right.
You're just as likely to have someone in your family dob you in. I mean, this is the crazy. It's insane.
It's insane.
Insane, and let's move on.
Yeah. It's fucking insane, all right, mate.
It's just ridiculously bonkers, honestly. I mean, don't even know where to start half the time.
There isn't a place to start when it comes to things like this. All right, where the hell's the pictures gone?
I don't know.
Oh, hold on. Right.
John's having production problems again.
I need a producer.
You keep saying that.
So this is Apophyse's projected landing zones if it actually hits us in December the 22nd, 2032.
Right.
So we're all right, mate. We're all right because it would only cause regional devastation. It wouldn't cause a ELE.
Yeah. No. And yeah. So we go in the sea and there'd be a bloody big tsunami. And
no, we're all right. We're all right. Look, even if it goes in the sea, it's going to be way down at fucking. We'll be fine. We'll be all right.
Well,
it's South Americans, Africans, or India. You're all fucked. And maybe even, look, for some reason, there's a bit of Yemen's in there. It misses Saudi Arabia, but it takes out Yemen. I'll guarantee. The fucking, knowing the luck of the Yemenis, it would land in Yemen.
And it would probably contain some sort of super mineral that made them all. They gave them all superpowers. And we'd end up with super Houthis or something.
Yeah. So apparently, a study from the Mail Online, which is tabloid journalism, as you said, but even so, the deputy health editor for the Mail Online, Johnny Lai, says vegan men are frail and more likely to die young. New analysis of British data suggests with unhealthy plant-based foods to blame. That's a fucking cracking headline, considering...
I love it. I hadn't seen that one.
That's a cracker, isn't it? Unhealthy plant-based ffoods. Maybe the tide is slowly starting to turn.
Yeah, vegetables are just... I mean, it would be...
Right, I don't know if I've...
To be honest, especially the plant-based alternatives, if you look at the ingredients of some of the fake milk, for example.
Oh, I like oat milk and all that shit, but...
Actually really bad for you.
Yeah, they are. So I don't know if I've explained this to you, but animals have a defense mechanism, when they don't want to be eaten. It's called fucking running away, okay? Now, plants don't have that ability.
They have oxalates.
So what plants do is they're all little devious bastarding biolabs. They're all chemical factories that create all these toxins and poisons that will interfere with you. So you don't eat them again the next time. And people seem to think, it's okay to eat vegetables because, plants don't feel, but they do, don't they? You've seen those experiments, and I know it's not a rabbit hole, but you've seen those experiments where you line up a couple of plants and you burn one of them and the rest of them all go, we're burning. But nobody's touched them with flames. They all, how plants have a limited amount of movement, like they can curl their leaves and things. Mm-hmm. So they all fucking react as if they're getting burnt, and when you put you measure their electrical stimulus or whatever that's going through them, it all spikes as if they're getting burnt, just like the one that you're burning. Mm-hmm. So there must be some method of communication.
Plants have feelings too. Plant lives matter.
So
if you leave them in the ground and just
eat animals
instead.
Yeah,
it's much more. But I mean, it's like beef is one of the most. In terms of nutrients.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
and also when you think about it,
gives you everything. Gives you your full range.
Exactly, a cow is the perfect animal to have for people because you can get milk, you can have beef, you use the skin, you use the bones. There's literally no part of a cow that you can't use.
Yeah. Hatchie's right. Anyone had a spanking with...
It tastes so good.
Yeah, it does. Stinging nettles. You're right enough, Hatchie. Or anyone ever fallen into poison ivy or anything like that? Fucking...
Oh, there's that Australian plant. God, what's it called? It's literally... it came up on my Twitter feed. And apparently it's like it's the Australian version of a stinging nettle, but this thing can leave you in agony for about 9 months afterwards.
9 months?
No, literally.
Is it a fucking alien? Does it put something in you that erupts?
Let me find it.
Fucking sounds vile. Anyway. Giant hogweed? That's a Japanese plant, is it not? Giant hogweed. Right, let's move on.
No, it's called dendrocinide morioides, commonly known as... No, that's not that one.
Yeah, okay.
No, a different one.
Shall we just move on?
Anyway, Australian plants, yes.
We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it another day. Right. Fucking Anonymous. What the hell happened to Anonymous? Do you think maybe they were being funded by US aid? Because now they're calling out the Trump government as bad and cutting government services are bad. Hold on. Aren't these the guys that championed small government?
I always
These guys
thought
are funded.
It was a psyop.
Yeah, it is a psyop, and they're fucking funded by US aid. They're CIA operatives, aren't they?
I mean, I love this idea of a hacker collective trying to do good.
Yeah, it's not real.
And Anonymous was trying very hard to impersonate that, but no, ultimately it's not surprising. But it's also, I mean, it's one particular account. I mean, it's yeah, whatever.
Yeah. And this was Glasgow.
Can I just say, just for the record, they
Quick.
usurped the mask.
Yeah, they have, mate. They don't deserve that mask. That mask needs to be taken off them.
The mask should be, it should be ceremonially stripped from them.
It should be. So this was Glasgow last week.
Oh, God.
Fucking furry convention. Being a furry is like wearing a soupy. No, it's not. No, it isn't.
It's not.
It's nothing like a superhero cape. It's like being a twat in public.
And really quite creepy and weird. If it was just people dressing up in furry outfits, fine. But they just get so much more creepy than that.
Look, Pokemon Go. Okay, if you want to do that. You don't dress weird, and you just go about with your phone, fucking getting run down occasionally because you forget to look up. But furries just not on. It's not right. It's just not right. It sends all the wrong signals. Moving on. Yeah, this was one of yours, wasn't it? So what's your favourite trilogy? Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, or Student Attacked by Seagull? Seagull Attacked by Student? Angry Seagulls Strike Back? What the fuck happened here? Tell me about this, Ed. This is your neck of the woods, mate. And you posted this.
Yeah, the Argus is Brighton's local newspaper, and these are just three. I wouldn't be surprised if more could be found if one looked hard enough. Yeah, it's just. I'd like to just disown the seagulls in question. I'm pretty sure that they won't mind.
Do you think you own seagulls?
No,
I think the seagulls own you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm that little bitch.
Right, here we go. Now this is faintly horrific. It's fairly horrific and faintly humorous at the same time. Horror as female tourist's hands are bitten off by shark yards from Caribbean beach after she tried to engage the 6-foot predator to take a picture. What do these people think? Do they look at animals which have been around for 65 million years and not evolved at all because they're so fucking good at doing what they do best, which is eating other things, and then decide to put their hand near a mouth that automatically triggers a bite reflex as soon as you touch a tooth? Why would they do that? Why?
Because they're stupid. Social media's made people stupid. They see other people do it, like a diver or whatever, and it's all not controlled, but it's one thing being a diver and doing that, and there's places in the Caribbean where the sharks know particular guides and they feed them fish.
Yeah, I know.
It can all be done safely. I mean, personally speaking, not, but I mean, it's just, it's also a testament to why we should. Well, yeah, but I mean, I think social media particularly, and current, I don't know whether it's modern life or whatever, but people do seem to be getting stupider.
Yeah, you know what, people? It's not worth it for clicks and likes to do something incredibly stupid. And I'd put this one in the incredibly stupid pile.
But it's like, yeah, I mean, it's in the same pile as those people who climb up buildings, then take a selfie and slip and fall off the building and plummet to their death. I mean, it's honestly, there are better ways to get a dopamine hit.
Yeah,
including alcohol.
Don't do this. Right.
Just don't do this at home, kids.
Do this.
Do it when you're on holiday.
Do this. This is cool. This is fun. Skiing down a mountain with lava beside you.
Down an active volcano that is.
It's still a mountain. It's Mount Etna. It's fine. This is fine. This is just skiing down an active volcano. That'll be no bother.
Well, I mean, I'm not a skier.
Hey, you're less likely to get bitten by a shark there than you are in the Caribbean.
Well, yeah, but you're less likely to get your face burned off or make one wrong move and end up piling into lava. I mean, it's a wonderful picture. The video, I mean, the video is worth watching because it's
that's a clip. That's a clip from the video, but yeah, it's cool.
Whoever did it, I bet it was a cool experience.
Yeah.
Would I have I got any burning desire to emulate it? Nope.
I'd do it. I love skiing. And yes, it is a story of ice and fire, Robin. You're correct. Anyway, carrying on. Right, so now it's our.
Also, just sorry.
Jesus Christ! Would you stop going back when I've carried on? Right.
All right. No.
Go. We've gone back now. I've gone back.
No, it's emblematic of how crazy the world is right now.
Yeah, but that's cool. Right. Okay.
That was all I wanted to say.
Right. Moving on to our weekly. Let's mock the Americans in a perfectly non-offensive and happy way. We do love.
Like you always do.
If you're an American, we love you. We want to be fucking Americans. If you want to take me on, bring me over. I'll bring eggs. I can get eggs cheaply. I can get them sent over surreptitiously. We could smuggle eggs in together. We could have an egg business because eggs are like fucking ridiculous. No, eggs are ridiculously priced in the States now. You can't get eggs because they've killed all the chickens. Yeah.
Well, hopefully now that Trump is in, as Trump said they're going to stop. Has he written an executive order to stop killing chickens?
Stop killing chickens. Right. Right. So anyway, mock the Americans. They can switch to English numbers just like we can switch to metric by doubling everything. For example, 10 kilos is 20 pounds. No, it's not, is it? And 5K is 10 miles. No, that's not right either. That's why 12 hours is 24 hours in Europe. They use smaller hours there. So instead of 60 minutes in an hour, they have 30 minutes. This is the American education system. Homeschooling people. Maybe homeschooling is the way to go. That's nuts.
Yeah. Which is why it's all the more impressive that J.D. Vance used meters when he was giving his speech.
I have a lot of time for J.D. Vance. I used to think, you know what? When he announced them, and I thought, who the fuck is J.D. Vance? Right?
Me too. I had the exact same thought.
I'm like, who is this guy? I have no idea. He's not bad. He's switched on. Okay,
So
wears a
far,
bit
I
of
like
mascara,
what I see.
but apart from that, he's fine.
No, so far, I'm impressed. I mean, that speech that he gave, I'm not sure if Trump intended for him to go to Munich, drop a bomb, and then leave. But that's basically what happened.
Mic drop.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, it was. It was literally just mic drop and then walked out. But
he's right, though.
Absolutely. I didn't hear him say anything that I disagreed with.
Yeah.
Certainly not about Europe. And ultimately, it's a good sign, certainly for the vice president. If you compare him to the last vice president the United States had, but she's now been unburdened by what's been so.
Unburdened by what never happened. Right. Okay. This is the actual 1958 Super Bowl halftime show. Do you not think it was a simpler time?
Oh, it was so much a simpler time. And I bet you that a burger in 1958 probably tasted better than a burger does.
Oh, I bet it did. Yeah, I bet it did.
And did the Coke still have the good stuff in it in 1958?
I don't know. It might have.
I don't know. I'd have to check that one.
I mean, it's like, fuck me. It's like they're not even in time. One of them's out of time. And one of them's got the wrong leg up. Jeez, so two of them are out of time and one of them's got the wrong leg up. Jesus Christ. That's just sad. But anyway, yeah, it was a simple time. Anyway, moving on. And I think we've only got 4 slides left, okay? So we're
not doing too badly.
We're doing all right, mate. We're doing all right. In fact, there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about that don't have slides.
I can't think of anything.
Hold on, let me just check. Do you want to know how to wind up cops? In a perfectly innocent way. Do you people out there want to know how to wind up a cop? Right, so what you do is, any cop that's not a constable, right, call him constable. Because you'll get all huffy about it, you know?
So how do you know if it's a constable or not?
Well, if he's a constable, he won't have any insignia of rank. As soon as you're a sergeant, you've got 3 stripes. As soon as you're an inspector, you get 2 pips. Chief inspector, 3 pips. Superintendent, crown. Chief super, crown and oak leaves, right? You know, so if you've no insignia rank, just a number, right, with no stripes, you're a constable. If he's not a constable, call him a fucking constable, and he'll pull you up. You know, even if it was a chief constable, if you say, well, constable, it's usually an inspector or something like that. You go, well, constable, I don't think that's correct. And he'll go, I'm an inspector. And you go, well, do you hold the rank of constable? Do you hold the office of constable? And he's got to say yes at this point, right? He's got to say yes. Because if he doesn't hold the office of constable, he's not a police officer.
I try not to talk to them to start with.
It's just an aside, in case you ever feel like being mischievous. Right, here's the one that we need to talk about. We need to talk about Paddington as an illegal immigrant.
God.
Have you not seen this week?
Yeah, yes, it's another of the crazy. I'm surprised we didn't have a slide for it.
I forgot about the slide, right? But
it shows you both. It's just how ridiculous.
So Paddington came from
the government is.
Where did Paddington come from? Bulgaria?
No, that's South America.
Oh, was it?
I don't know. I think it was Brazil or somewhere.
No, it wasn't Brazil.
I'm pretty sure Paddington came from South America. Mainly because there aren't any bears in Romania.
No, I said Bulgaria.
I don't think there are bears in Bulgaria either, but there might be.
Well, where did the fucking Russians get their bears?
Well, I'm pretty sure the Paddington bear came from South America somewhere.
Oh, he maybe did. What's the South American one with a B that's not Brazil?
What's the South American one that's not Brazil? Paraguay, Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, Ecuador. No, that's Latin America.
Oh, he's from Peru.
Venezuela. Peru, there you go.
He's from Peru? Really? I thought. Oh no, it was the Wombles that had Great Uncle Bulgaria, didn't they? Right. Paddington Bear, the beloved children's book character, originally hails from Peru. Specifically, he comes from deepest, darkest Peru. So he's a dark Peruvian, right? Where he was raised by his Aunt Lucy. Aunt Lucy in Peru. This is starting to sound a bit ridiculous already, but I'll let it go. Paddington's early life in Peru was marked by tragedy, as he was orphaned by an earthquake when he was just a little bear cub. So Paddington's journey to England began when his Aunt Lucy decided to retire to the House for Retired Bears in Lima, the capital of Peru, just in case you didn't know. Before sending him off, Aunt Lucy taught Paddington to speak perfect English. How did Aunt Lucy know perfect English if she lived in Peru? Was she English and emigrated to Peru?
Well, that would be a fair
guess. Which might mean that Paddington is actually not an illegal immigrant. Let's pursue this. Let's carry on. Before sending him off, Aunt Lucy taught Paddington to speak perfectly. The young bear then travelled to England as a stowaway in a ship's lifeboat. illegal entry. Illegal entry, right?
Yeah.
One, illegal entry. Upon arriving in England, Paddington found himself at Paddington Station. How the fuck did he get to Paddington Station, which is landlocked from a ship's lifeboat?
Well, he managed to stow away.
Well, no, okay, I tell you what. Maybe the ship docked in a London dock, and he wandered into Paddington Station. We'll let that one go, right? There you go. So Paddington has arrived at England. It was there that he discovered by the Brown family, which took him in and gave him his iconic blue jacket. So he was a naked bear until he got the blue jacket. Paddington's red hat was a gift from his uncle, who remained in... Oh, so he turned up wearing a red hat and nothing else. While Paddington is the name he's known by in England, it's worth noting he has a Peruvian name. His real Peruvian name is Pastuzo. Ah, right. Paddington's Peruvian origins and his journey to England as a refugee. How's he a refugee? Was Peru and... No, you're not a refugee if your aunt decides to go to a fucking retirement home. That doesn't make you a refugee. He is. Paddington is. On the evidence of what we have so far, Paddington is indeed an illegal immigrant and has entered the country illegally and therefore should probably be deported straight back to Peru. What do you think of that?
I think it's about as serious and sensible as anything that comes out of Westminster.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there you go. Right, anyway, I'm with Chinese company Tencent here. I certainly am.
We got a slide.
Oh, I'm with Chinese company Tencent. It wants to see no blacks and big boobs in its films and games. But this is because the Chinese don't like diversity. They really don't. I mean, you know what they do with... Did you know what they did with the Star Wars movie poster? It was Ben brought this one out to start with. Because when what was the Star Wars one with the... What was the first Star Wars one after the real Star Wars,
Empire Strikes Back.
No, after the... forget. They were the real Star Wars. What was the other ones?
Oh, Phantom Menace.
Right. So after the Phantom
Menace,
what was the ones?
The Clones and Revenge of the Sith.
Right. Good. No, you're doing well. What's the next one after that?
Oh,
that had the black guy in it. Because there was
Ray. I know the one you mean. Yeah, no, it's what's his face? A former stormtrooper.
Yes, the black stormtrooper. Right. So he was the lead.
Force Awakens.
Yeah, right. He was the lead in that movie, yeah, or one of the leads, right? He was, in the movie poster in China, he is teeny tiny person in the very, very background because Chinese don't like diversity. They really don't. Rouge One, Rogue One. That was Ray.
Oh yeah, no, that's right.
But
Force Awakens. Force Awakens was a different one.
Chinese like big boobs, no black. Right, moving on. Trump rules out deporting Prince Harry. He's got enough problems with his wife.
I think Harry gave a snooty reply to it as well.
Oh, did he? What did he say?
Oh,
I don't know. You can't come back on that. That's fucking tremendous.
I saw that he said something and it was probably snooty.
It would be rubbish because you cannot come back to that. That is the ultimate put down. How are you going to come back on that?
Well, if you're completely cucked by a slightly abusive, utterly narcissistic female, the type of which I know well because that one reminds me of an ex that I'm not going to talk about. But yeah, just. I have so little time for the royal family that I can feel the seconds of my life ticking away just having to stare at the picture.
I'm with you on this, right? Because I've never been a kind of I don't think I've ever been a kind of royalist, right? But I didn't mind the royal family as such. You know, I once found myself in London, and there was this huge group of people. I was in Leicester Square, and there was a huge buzz of people around Leicester Square Cinema. And I said, "What's going on?" And some guy goes, "Oh, Prince Charles and Princess Diana are coming to the premiere." And I'm like, "Oh, fuck, this is tremendous." Because Princess Diana was a big thing, you know, not Prince Charles. Nobody gave a fuck about him, but everybody loved everybody loved Princess Diana.
It's
right?
true. No, I
mean, she did.
I lived through the 80s.
Yeah. So
when they got married and
this
stuff.
This is about 84, 85, something like that, and I'm in London, and I've got my fucking camera with me, and it's like it's a proper camera. It was an Olympus OM1, you know, a film camera, but a cracking camera, right? And I'm gonna give this a shot, right? So it goes up to the press line, and there's a cop there, and he's going, "Are you press?" And I goes, "No." And I showed him my warrant card, and I goes, "Can I get in?" He's going, "Aye, on you go." So I'm in the fucking
in the 80s.
I'm in the 80s. I'm in the fucking front line, right there. I'm 3 feet from Princess Diana as she comes in. I'm taking the photos. And all the press are going, Diana, look here, flashes your tits, shows a bit of shoulder, you know. But I'm just fucking taking photos 3 feet from Princess Diana. It's pretty cool. I mean, and the thing is, fucking lost the photos. I don't know where they are.
That is so typical.
Yeah, I know, but it was fucking cool as fuck.
Well, I think, to be honest, I think there is a certain magic about. I think that a lot of the magic and stuff about the royal family died when Diana did.
Diana was.
It wasn't just what she represented and who she was, but it was also the fact that everybody knew that there was something else going on.
You know what, guys? You know what, guys? You can fucking call it out all you like, as it either did or didn't happen. I know it fucking happened because I was there, right? But yeah,
I never said it didn't happen.
No, I'm talking about the chat room. You know what they're like. The troll rooms are like. But yeah, Diana was an opportunity for the royal family to really fucking get in there. You know what I mean? But they messed it up.
Well, the current king messed it up.
Yeah, we did.
The other problem that the royal family have got is that the Queen died, and throughout it was like throughout all of the 1980s, all of the issues with Charles and the marriage, and Andrew and his marriage, and all of that nonsense that the royal family went through. The Queen was not Teflon, but not far off it. That, you know what? People always had regard for the monarch. I did too.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the way that she conducted herself and the way that she always studiously stayed out of politics. I
have no doubt.
And the current king, people don't have the same.
They don't have the respect for him, mate. They really don't. No. I have no doubt, right? I mean, I have no doubt that Liz was a fucking force of nature when it came to the royal family, right? I think she was a hard fucking taskmaster, and I'm pretty sure she ruled that place like with a rod of iron, right?
I'm sure she did, and I'm sure that there's darkness.
Oh yeah, I'm sure
that whole thing too. I mean, we don't want to go down rabbit holes. But
she's not squeaky clean by any stretch of the imagination, but she was a force of nature, and she had the respect of the people, even the ones that weren't royalists, right? Mm-hmm. But that's gone. And you know what? Diana was, to some extent, her undoing as well, because I think she had a lot to do with pushing Diana out.
I agree. Yeah, and I think that the way that if you look at how the public reacted after Diana died, and the Queen and the royal family basically just stayed, didn't say anything, didn't acknowledge anything, and they ended up having to, because the people were getting angrier and angrier and angrier about it, and the flowers were piling up outside Buckingham Palace, and the conspiracy theories were running rampant and have ever since, and I think that Diana essentially cast a shadow over the king, now king, then Prince Charles. And also now that now that we have Camilla as queen, because I remember back in the 90s and stuff, when Charles and Diana split up, the Queen was absolutely adamant that Camilla was not going to be queen. And the fact that happened. And I also think I think it shows massive disrespect to Diana to start with. And the whole thing is just really sordid. And also the telephone calls that came out. And I mean, they did go through a whole he says, she says. It's like the most public marriage breakup in history. Yeah. But at the same time, she was still unbelievably popular, and the Queen was popular. Yeah, and Charles has never been popular.
Prince Philip was a fucking scream. He really was. He used to say the most. He used to say the most inappropriate things at the completely right time. He really did. It was an absolute scream. I mean, if anyone was going to say his mind, it was Prince Philip. You know, he was a bit like Trump is now. He didn't give a shit about what people thought. You know.
To be honest, I like that.
Yeah. It's honest, mate. It's honest.
And I don't particularly like Prince Philip. I've always thought that there was a certain darkness attendant to him.
Yeah. Phil the Greek, as they called him, wasn't it?
Yeah, and also the whole thing with Diana and various other things, and also some of the more rabbit hole-y type stuff. But anyway, let's move on.
Well, before we move on, so when my dad was on the HMS Jupiter, Prince Charles was serving on it at the same time. Yeah. He said Charles was all right, actually, and not a bad footballer. Because my dad was in the team, the ship's team. He was he was actually quite a good footballer, to be fair.
Yeah, but would your dad have said that just because he was the Prince of Wales?
No, my dad wouldn't.
Right. Okay. But maybe
you know me. You know me.
In his younger years and just got fucked over by life.
Probably, I'm probably more like my dad than I'd like to think I am. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I probably am, to be fair.
Most sons are.
Yeah, I know. Right, okay.
No,
sorry?
No, I said I know I am.
All right, okay. Where are we? Next, second last slide. This is a lovely tweet that has aged like fine milk. So this is from the 21st of January 2021. It's kind of weird that deplatforming Trump just like completely worked with no visible downside whatsoever. Yeah. 3 years later after Biden, there was no visible.
Has anyone checked up on Matthew since then?
Probably not.
He's probably losing his freaking mind right now.
Well, I was going to say he's probably lost his hair, but he'd already achieved that, hadn't he?
This is the thing I love about Twitter, because it just never goes away. It doesn't. Even if you delete it, someone will have screenshotted the bloody thing.
Nothing goes away in the internet.
No. And that's actually a good thing, because ultimately, particularly when it comes to politicians and history, and being able to go back and see what people actually said about something, because you can do a quick search, and there's ways to use the advanced search in Twitter where you can go back over a period of time or whatever. And it's bloody useful. And then you have the people who will inevitably delete things, but then you have even more wonderful people who seem to screenshot everything. I mean, there's some people do honestly seem to screenshot everything they see on Twitter.
Yeah, they do.
And God love them. Honestly, there should be a special like Nobel Prize or something for Twitter screenshotters, because for everything. It's like, oh no, they've deleted it. Oh no, I've got it here. Great. I love it.
Right. I've got one slide left, but is there anything else you want to bring up before we?
I can't think of anything. We've covered pretty much everything. I mean, I don't think there's anything that's happened in the last week that's of any import that we haven't.
I'm just wondering if it's tomorrow, isn't it? The deadline for the hostages.
Yeah, I mean, Tulsi Gabbard. What did you think of her?
Oh yeah, Tulsi Gabbard. Oh, I think it's good. I mean, if anyone's going to be able to tell Trump the truth and he believe it, it's going to be her probably.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people are saying she's a shell or she's a Zionist or what. You know what? They all are, right?
The problem with the American government, which if you want to get into the American government, I imagine probably becomes apparent to you within the first 30 seconds or something, is that if you don't kowtow to Israel, you're not getting into any position of power.
Yeah.
Now, what she said to get to where she is now and what she said in the committee, although I don't doubt that she was completely honest in her hearing, because she comes across as that sort of person, but you can not say things.
Yes.
And you can phrase things in a certain way which is potentially more pleasing to the person who is listening, whilst still being the truth. But what she does when she gets into a position of power is another thing. And I mean, she comes across as very smart, very honest.
Yeah.
She's a combat veteran, which I think is particularly when you're doing something like DNI.
Yeah.
I think having some combat experience and at least knowing what it feels like to get shot at, for example.
Yeah.
I think things like that are important because it gives you a perspective and it allows you to speak with a certain level of authority that you wouldn't have otherwise. And also, when you're directing national intelligence, as she is, and you're potentially telling people to go out and do things, that hopefully she's going to be thinking about not chucking lives away.
Yeah.
But she's a bright lady. She's some of the videos that I've seen her post about labs in Ukraine and that kind of thing. It's very interesting.
Certainly, the way Trump's talking, I can see a kind of. I mean, I think we are now living in a multipolar world. The US is not the dominant country that it once was. It doesn't influence everything, and anyone that thinks it does is living in the past, because you see, if we had World War II now, right? America wouldn't play half the part it could.
Doesn't have the industrial capacity.
It's not even that. You can't cross the Atlantic with impunity anymore, Now, it was hard enough when the Germans had their U-boats. Can you imagine now trying to cross the Atlantic with satellite hypersonic missiles and fucking almost undetectable submarines? You would never. You can't do it. So the Americans.
It's one of the guys that I listen to refers to it as multinodal rather than multipolar. I think it might have been John Mearsheimer.
Yeah,
might have been one of those sorts of people.
Yeah.
But I agree, and I think that the sooner the world wakes up and realizes it, the better, and the sooner that the British government wakes up and realizes that we're not a great power anymore.
Yeah, I know,
and that we have problems at home that we need to sort out. And yes, we have a contribution to make to the world, but that contribution doesn't involve funding DEI projects in Uganda.
See these people that keep going on about, like Britain conquered the whole world, basically. Well, we did. I mean, we conquered basically the whole world at one point, right? So what? So did Genghis Khan. So did, he conquered almost all his known world. Alexander the Great conquered almost all his own world, yeah?
Look what happened to them. They're not around anymore.
Well, exactly. The Romans conquered. The Romans conquered almost their entire known world. Yeah. So what? It doesn't matter. Get over it. We did it, and we reaped a degree of benefit, but so did the people that were imparted with knowledge that they would never have had, and techniques and tools and,
development is a
development, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, it wasn't a perfect sharing of information, but this is how the world progresses, and it seems to be how we've done it in the past. So get over it. And no, I'm not paying reparations for stuff that my ancestors did that I had no fucking control over.
Well, the thing about that is that if you look at the whole slavery reparations thing, the British government took out a loan
I know.
in order to free the slaves, and the country as a whole didn't stop paying that loan off until 2015.
Yeah, I know. So that's crazy.
People who, like I, have paid taxes, you have paid taxes.
Yeah, we've paid for it, mate.
Used to free the slaves.
Yeah.
So if some piss poor little Caribbean country wants to come and start demanding trillions of pounds off us, bite me.
Yeah, exactly. And Robin's got the right point. He got the point there. When the UK was the richest nation in the world, people were still sleeping on the streets in London. Yeah, they were.
And the problem is that we also have a useless government that is likely to sign us up for £8 trillion worth of bloody slavery reparations over the next 200 years.
Right.
That we will end up being in indentured servitude to the Caribbean.
So Nick Teresa says Santorini. So I'm taking he's the volcanic activity in Santorini and Mount Etna.
Something happened.
No, but Santorini had a volcanic activity quite recently, didn't they, or something?
Yeah, Nectaridis has been, because I saw him on Wednesday, and he's been, because the thing about Santorini that's interesting is, hang on, Weather Watcher, 1 hour, I'm hearing reports that something odd and potentially concerning is going on around Santorini.
Oh, something new?
Seismic activity. Yeah, no, this is from an hour ago.
Right, okay.
People in the area are saying there is a sound in the distance. Oh. Right, let's just do a bit of twittering, a bit of live research.
Yeah.
Let's go to the latest. Right, so they've had 16,500 earthquakes in 2 weeks, and yesterday they detected magma movement below Santorini Island. Now, this is from 38 minutes ago. Yep. Now, about 2 hours ago, people in the area have been reporting a weird distant sound, which is what Iceland reported before its continuous volcanic eruption.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then we've got someone from 3 hours ago. Maybe someone expert could comment on this. No, that's not had any replies. So, so Santorini, there's some weird shit going on. Not a good time for a holiday in the Med. And the last thing we need is a bloody super volcano erupting. Because
okay.
I mean, we've had seismic swarms in various different parts of the world. We're also in peak solar maximum at the moment.
Yeah,
and the sun most definitely has an impact on these things.
So
we could well be in a
5
disaster movie.
Yeah,
imagine that. We could actually be right at the beginning of a disaster movie scenario, and we don't even know it.
Could be 5.4 magnitude earthquake on February the 10th, right, in Santorini, and a state of emergency declared until March the 3rd, 2025. So I think they're obviously expecting more stuff is going to be on. 11,000 people are evacuating the island and surrounding areas.
I would basically, if you're on any of those islands around Santorini, GTFO.
Cruise operators are excluding Santorini from its itinerary. Hotels instructed to drain swimming pools as a precautionary measure. But why would draining a swimming pool be necessary, other than the fact it might crack and leak? But
that's an interesting question.
Yeah, closure of schools on Santorini and nearby islands. Authorities have implemented various safety measures and issued advice to residents. Avoid large indoor gatherings, old buildings and areas prone to rock slides. Stay away from coastal areas, including the ports of Arnudi, Armini, Kofors and Old Port and Fira. While experts cannot predict when the seismic activity will cease, the situation remains uncertain.
Oh, right. Okay. So there are actually good reasons for draining the swimming pool before an earthquake.
Go on then.
You prevent damage from water movement. The water in the pool can slosh around violently, potentially leading to structural damage to the pool itself. And you avoid water spillage. If the pool is near a house or other structures, water spilling around could cause significant damage. Safety concerns: before pools can become hazardous during or after an earthquake, the surrounding ground might become unstable, leading to the pool becoming a safety hazard. Ease of repair: if the pool does sustain damage from the earthquake, it's easier to repair or inspect an empty pool. Reducing load on the ground: the weight of the water adds significantly to the load on the ground underneath. In areas prone to seismic activity, reducing this load can potentially decrease the risk of soil liquefaction, which can exacerbate earthquake damage.
Okay, right.
So I learned something new.
There you go, and thank you. Right, people of the troll room, have you got any requests for next week's rabbit hole? Any requests for next week's rabbit hole? Get them in now. If not,
There's something.
Put some comments on something you want to hear. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because you've still got 18 people here, which is fucking good after 2 hours and 38 minutes or whatever it is.
Holy shit. Well done, guys.
No, sorry, 2 hours and 43 minutes. So well done to you guys.
But yeah, people, this is because you guys are hardcore. So we're more interested in the things that our diehard listeners are interested in. So if people have topics that we haven't covered. And I know as soon as we ask that question, your brain goes blank.
Robin says he wants a Zimbabwean radio wave car. I've never heard of this.
Me neither.
I might need to have a look at that.
Yeah, no, let's check that one out. And I'm
but
doing
if
anything relating to Africa. So
if there's any others, throw them in. Any others, throw them in. Harold had a topic but forgot what it is. That's what happens, mate. That's what happens. Ed just said that.
Absolutely, but that's a human thing.
Yeah.
And if I don't have something to, because now before we start the show, I've got an idea of what I'm going to say if John has to go quiet for a minute. Because if I don't have something planned and something to fall back on, my brain just goes blank.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting point about human psychology. Actually, it's probably why training is so important, because you have to know what to do when your conscious mind goes blank, because it's like, shit, what do I do now? Is that
something about the 10,000 hours to become an expert on something, then that you become automatic? Because have you ever experienced that time when you've driven from point A to point B, and there is a portion of the journey that you suddenly think, what the fuck? I can't remember going from here to there. You ever had that?
No, I haven't experienced that yet.
Right, so I've had that quite a lot, because I've done a lot of driving in my time. But there comes
done masses and masses of driving.
There comes a point when you go from point A to point B, and you get to point B and think, hold on, I can't remember from here to here. You know, how the fuck did I get here? Because you're just on automatic pilot. You're not sleeping. Don't get me wrong. You're just on automatic pilot, and your mind might be thinking about other things, but you're still doing everything properly and responding to everything, but you just can't fucking remember how you actually got there.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes like when I'm working, I'll sometimes have a podcast on in the background.
Yeah.
And I never do that with podcasts that I really want to listen to, or audio books that I haven't listened to before. Yeah. I'm quite happy doing it with something that I've already listened to. Because I'm not...
Yeah, or stuff you're not interested in, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just the way the brain works. I find it absolutely fascinating. But yeah, we can look into that Zimbabwe thing for sure.
Yeah. Beeson Tape said, have we done Edgar Case?
Yes, that one's ringing a bell.
Can't remember that, but we might have. We've
definitely covered him. I can't remember what or when or where, but yes.
Right. Okay. So, any thoughts, people?
Who's Ed? Remind me who he was, and I'll be able to tell you.
But if anyone else has anything, drop it in the comments or whatever, you know, you get me on Twitter, you know where I'm on Twitter, Acolator, you know where Ed is on Twitter, you know what we're like. We will talk to you. We don't completely ignore you. Not all the time. Right.
I'm nicer than he is, just for the record.
He is, yeah. Now I've got a last slide, and it's what I would call dark humor. Okay, so you know, treat it for what it is. It's tragic, but it's funny. Okay, so
God,
here we go. Grandpa who ate paint thinking it was yogurt has died. Okay. So the first comment, Scott Joyce, thoughts to his family at this emotional time. Oh,
sad but beautiful finish.
Gordon DL, sad end but beautiful finish.
Oh, and this is the beauty of English humor.
Yeah.
And also why it's slowly being made more and more illegal. I think, for the record, it's really sad that someone died because they mistakenly ate paint.
Yes, it is. It's shocking.
For an elderly person, mistakes like that are unfortunately really common.
All too common.
Well, not really common, fortunately, but that kind of thing can happen. I don't know. Yes, but you laugh about it because it's horrible, and there's always going to be people out there who come out with.
It's a release mechanism. It's a release mechanism.
It is, and I think it should be allowed. I'm not saying
it should.
It's the kind of thing that makes you feel a bit uncomfortable. But I think you just need to deal with those feelings and not try and cancel everybody just because they disagree with you.
Right, okay, so Edward Craystad predictions on Atlantis stuff. We'll have a look into that, and we will be scanning the comments and looking at my Twitter to see if you come up with anything else, people. Because, you know what? As always, it's been great for you.
Welcome to my party, we're just getting started. A life is a dream or a nightmare scarring. Hand me a drink cause I think I'm going all in. Get me a shrink who can catch me when I'm falling. Cover up my scars, flip the handlebars. Crashing in my car, wake up in a bar. I'll be a superstar, just on my avatar. This world is so bizarre, empty out the reservoir. Yeah. I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy, don't think I'll get home safe. So I'm taking 6 shots, all straight to the face. I'm taking 6 shots, are you coming with me? I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy, don't think I'll get home safe. So I'm taking 6 shots, all straight to the face. I'm taking 6 shots, are you coming with me? Sometimes you need to let loose, grab juice, get goose, tattoos, taboos, get screwed. Loosen up, buttercup, all those hate comments will never make you feel enough. We're all adequate graduates, heart full of calluses, but we know calculus. Damn, ain't that fabulous? Can't wait to apply all those mathematicus. But we can't get a job that pays us enough. I'm about to pop off. Fuck you, you're lost. We all know that we never really want a boss. So I'ma do what I want to, something I can't undo. Yeah, I'ma do what I want to, something I can't undo. I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy, don't think I'll get home safe. So I'm taking 6 shots, all straight to the face. I'm taking 6 shots, are you coming with me? I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to